Me? Killing those Golden Core disciples? Don't be ridiculous. The elders already said I'm just a talentless loser. Let a prodigy like Xia Chaogung take the fall. Since they're so keen on protecting me, I'll head to the Demon Clan's territory to collect some interest.
Who could have done this? There is no way our disciples committed the killing, right? Liang Feiyan had failed to slay a single beast king. She retreated to the side sullenly and spoke in displeasure. Let me state this first. Fu Keijun, Zai Liushu, and Ao Yongjun jolted with alarm, hurrying to step aside one after another as they spoke. It wasn't us either. Zia Keoj snickered quietly, imitating the others and standing off to the side as he said, "It wasn't me either." Only Fang Chen remained in the open area. He rolled his eyes at the two disloyal rascals and said helplessly, "Fine, I did it." Fang Chen, how could he alone kill so many Heavenly Secrets Pavilion disciples? The leader among them was even a powerhouse at the 5th layer of the Golden Core realm. Could it be that they are ganging up to bully Fang Chen, making him take the fall all by himself? Before Lai Qingfeng could lose his temper, Lu Ziyunian could no longer stand the sight and spoke. "Zia Keoj, you are in the wrong here. You are clearly the one who killed them. Why are you pushing all the blame onto Fang Chen? If you dare to do the deed, you must dare to bear the responsibility. You ought to live up to your title as the #1 prodigy of the 9 sects." Zia Keoj froze for a moment and said, "But they were really killed by Martial Uncle. Fine, I did kill one of them, but all the rest were slain by Martial Uncle." Lu Ziyunian grew somewhat angry and reprimanded. "Did you even listen to a word I said? Tell me yourself, who would believe that Fang Chen alone killed 4 Heavenly Secrets Pavilion disciples? Even if you want to shirk responsibility, you should at least come up with a more plausible excuse." Zia Keoj was left speechless and said, "But it really was Martial Uncle." Before he could finish speaking, he was sharply cut off by Lu Ziyunian. "Shut up." Lu Ziyunian was truly furious now. What was wrong with Zia Keoj today? He was completely different from his usual self. He wasn't even blaming Zia Keoj for killing the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion disciples. There was no need for him to push the blame onto Fang Chen so desperately, was there? Liang Feiyan said in stunned shock, "Elder Lu, this is a misunderstanding. They were truly slain by Junior Brother Fang. Even that 5th layer Golden Core powerhouse was taken down with Junior Brother Fang's assistance." As soon as the words left her mouth, Elder Lu glared over and shouted, "You shut up too. Even though I am not a member of your Myriad Sword sect, as a senior I must reprimand you. Do you have any sense of decorum? 2 renowned senior brother and sister are teaming up to slander a junior brother. You are supposed to be the Myriad Sword sect's chief disciple, yet you have the audacity to do such a shameful thing." I am fucking telling the truth. Liang Feiyan was so frustrated he wanted to spit blood. When had he ever slandered Fang Chen? Lai Qingfeng's face was grim. He snorted softly and said, "Elder Lu has already reprimanded you, so I will not say more, but never let this happen again. Fang Chen is not like you all, who have great strength and powerful backgrounds. He cannot endure this kind of harassment from you." Immediately after, he patted Fang Chen's shoulder comfortingly and said, "Don't be afraid. With Elder Lu and I here, you don't have to wrongfully take the fall all by yourself." Fang Chen covered his mouth to stifle a snicker, nodded and said, "Thank you, Elder Lai, and thank you too, Elder Lu. I am grateful to both of you for speaking up for justice." Liang Feiyan clenched his fists in frustration. Fang Chen was ferocious beyond belief when outside, yet he acted like an obedient little lamb in front of the elders, reaping all the benefits on both sides. Even Zia Keoj couldn't help but stamp his foot lightly, feeling both annoyed and amused. He had failed to prank his martial uncle, and instead got a harsh scolding in return. Fu Keijun, Zai Liushu, and Ao Yongjun exchanged glances with each other. This was a once-in-a-lifetime sight. Fang Chen was clearly the mastermind behind everything, yet none of the elders dared to believe it. That being said, if they had not witnessed Fang Chen's terrifying combat prowess with their own eyes, they would also have found it hard to believe that all these deeds were done by Fang Chen. "All right, you all carry on." Lu Ziyunian looked around and said, "There were many signs of people leaving just now. I must go check if they left any hidden dangers behind." Lai Qingfeng glanced at the corpses littering the ground and said, "These bandits deserve their deaths. Burn all the corpses. Do not search their bodies. Burn everything completely." After giving that meaningful warning, he vanished in a flash. The group immediately got to work, piling the corpses together. Ao Yongjun noticed that the leading robed man's chest was bulging, and could not help saying, "They seem to have a lot of demonic cores on them." Fu Keijun and Zai Liushu's eyes lit up at the same time. They did not dare to act rashly, and instead looked towards Fang Chen, who was holding the torch. "Don't even think about it. Fang Chen rolled his eyes at the three of them and said, "Have you still not understood why Elder Lai specifically told us not to search their bodies? If we don't search their bodies, they are just unidentified bandits who deserve to die. If we happen to find a Heavenly Secrets Pavilion disciple token on them, then what we killed were Heavenly Secrets Pavilion disciples. There are many disciples above and below Boundary Mountain who can guarantee that no one is watching our every move." Our young Jun jolted with alarm, only then realizing the severity of the consequences. If no token is found upon their persons when their elders come to demand an explanation later, the 9 great sects can fully claim they never encountered these people and merely slew a handful of brigands and outlaws, flatly denying they ever killed disciples of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. But if the token is uncovered, they will have no defense to speak of. Thus, to avoid spawning unnecessary trouble, they burn the bodies to ash directly. Fu Keijun and Zai Liushu also clicked their tongues in shock, never expecting there to be such high stakes involved. It was fortunate that Fang Chen had grasped Lai Qingfeng's unspoken implication, or they would likely have landed themselves in grave trouble. The group scanned their surroundings and caught faint glimpses of scattered figures in the distance. Had they searched the bodies just now, they would most certainly have been spotted. Liang Feiyan felt her scalp prickle, realizing these corpses were an exceedingly thorny problem. She spoke, "Burn them, junior brother." Xia Keoj stepped forward and snatched the torch in one move, saying, "Let me do it instead." If word reaches the 2 elders, they will once again claim that senior brother Liang and I joined forces to bully our martial uncle and commit misdeeds. She cast a sidelong glance at Fang Chen, gave him a small, resentful look, and set the corpses ablaze with a single motion. Fang Chen gave a faint smile, who asked the 2 of you to be so disloyal. Mid-sentence, his expression shifted slightly. The Black Mirror evil spirit, which had lain dormant in his bosom for ages, spoke abruptly without warning. "Watch yourself, brat. There are unclean things nearby." Ever since they returned to the Qingyun sect, whether out of fear of being discovered by the sect's experts, the Black Mirror evil spirit had not shown itself even once. Its sudden low murmur now gave Fang Chen quite a fright. Fang Chen spoke to the group. "I will go rest for a short while. You all tend to the battlefield cleanup for me." With that, he turned and walked to a snowdrift in the distance, and pulled the Black Mirror out from his bosom. The Black Mirror was one of the very few items he had not stored inside the Heavenly Thunderstone. There was no other reason for this. He wished to stay vigilant against the evil spirit sealed within it. "I thought you had died, not showing your face for so long," Fang Chen said bluntly. The evil spirit laughed in rage. "You little wretch are just dying for me to vanish, so you can seize the Black Mirror for yourself, aren't you? You can dream on. This old man can hold on for another decade at least." Fang Chen let out a cold scoff and said, "What is this unclean thing you spoke of just now? You had best explain it clearly. Don't let me meet my end here in danger. This place is a frozen wasteland. If you are buried here alongside me, no one will ever find you again." The evil spirit grumbled inwardly. This brat had the gall to say that. If it were not for him back then, the Black Mirror would have long since absorbed enough human blood to restore its full vitality. "If I wanted you dead here, I would never have warned you," the evil spirit said gravely. "I sense traces of death Kai just now, which should be emanating from corpses. This is no auspicious place. You would do best to leave at once." Corpses. Fang Chen glanced back at the snowfield behind them, which was littered with the corpses of demonic beasts. What danger could corpses possibly pose? Fang Chen was puzzled. The evil spirit gave a cold chuckle. "Corpses are not dangerous, but what if those corpses can move?" Fang Chen's pupils shrank slightly, and he gasped in a low voice, "Moving corpses." The evil spirit gazed toward the distant lands where the demon clan resided. That moving death Kai was unmistakable. As an evil spirit, its perception of dark and sinister auras far surpassed that of humans. The 2 elders had not detected it in the slightest, but it sensed the aura with perfect clarity. Fang Chen's expression turned grave. Could it be some sort of puppet art? He thought of that Heavenly Secret Pavilion disciple with the surname Wu from Duanshan Canyon, but quickly dismissed the thought. The Beast King chieftain controlled by Wu Manyue had been a living creature, not a dead corpse. "It is the demon clan priests. The evil spirit provided the answer. The demon clan is preparing to fight with all their might." Priests. This was the first time Fang Chen had heard that such a position existed among the demon clan. The evil spirit explained, in ancient times, when the colossal giants rampaged across the continent and triggered a great extinction of all living beings, the numbers of the allied living army plummeted sharply. To replenish their forces, an extraordinarily gifted sage created a formidable divine ability that could reanimate the corpses of dead creatures. Though their strength was less than 1/10 of what they possessed in life, so long as there were sufficient corpses, the army of the dead could theoretically be endless. Fang Chen was slightly shaken. Back then, all races of living beings had exhausted every possible method to resist the ancient giants. The 100 Zheng Great Wall, the army of reanimated corpses, were any of these not unprecedented, earth-shattering feats. Later, after the ancient giants were eradicated, that same sage passed away 10 years after the war's end, having overexerted his soul power. Before his death, he intended to pass this divine art down to future generations, but the other sages stopped him. Were this divine art to fall into the hands of evil cultivators, the catastrophe it would trigger would be no less severe than the rampage of the ancient giants. The sage thus agreed to take the divine art to his grave forever. Hearing this, Fang Chen was puzzled. Then, where did the demon clan priests obtain this art? The evil spirit smiled meaningfully. The demon clan priests are the bloodline descendants of that very sage. It did not speak further after that, for the answer was obvious. The sage had never truly erased the divine art entirely. He had held a shred of selfishness and left the art for his descendants. For a moment, Fang Chen did not know what to say. Call him selfish. He had given his life to protect all living beings, a great and admirable feat. Call him noble. He had left behind such a catastrophic hidden danger for the sake of his own bloodline. Now, countless eons after his death, that hidden danger was about to erupt on the battlefield between the human race and the demon clan. After a long moment, he sighed softly. This is simply human nature, is it not? The evil spirit laughed. You need not worry overmuch. The divine art created by that sage is hardly so easy to master. If his descendants truly possessed the ability to wield its full power, they would not be satisfied with the mere position of demon clan priests. They would have long since seized control of the entire demon clan and become the supreme lord of all demons. That made perfect sense. Compared to the living beings of other races, the one who should most fear the growing power of the priest lineage was none other than the demon emperor himself. No two tigers can occupy the same mountain, and the demon clan could only have one sovereign. If the priests were truly that powerful, the ones ruling the demon clan would be the priests, not the demon emperor. Even so, you must not underestimate them. The evil spirit gazed into the distance. Since the priest dares to lead an army of the dead here, he naturally has full confidence to seize this land. Until we have a clear grasp of their strength, you would do well to stay far away from this place for the time being. Fang Chen's mind raced. An army of reanimated corpses was clearly far beyond what the sect disciples could handle. This was no longer a matter he was responsible for resolving. He had to notify the elders immediately and let them make the decisions. The only problem was, how was he to explain to them that an army of the dead was approaching? Two powerful late-stage Golden Core realm experts, Lai Qingfeng and Lu Ziyunian, failed to detect the danger, yet a mere junior disciple foresaw it in advance. Whether they would believe him was secondary at best. More likely than not, they would grow suspicious of Fang Chen. If only I could catch a living corpse, Fang Chen muttered under his breath. Nothing would be more convincing than a ready specimen of a living corpse. Still, he had no intention of risking contact with those cadavers, let alone dragging Xia Keoj and the others into danger. What was he to do? You disciples of the 9 sects are quite capable. I see you've slain so many beast kings. A soft, faintly seductive voice rang out without warning. The next instant, 3 burly, bare-chested, middle-aged men with glazed, vacant eyes burst forth from beneath the snow. With lightning speed, they sliced open the abdomens of 3 slain beast king spiders and extracted their demon cores. Xia Keoj and the others were in the middle of harvesting the demonic beast carcasses. Their expressions shifted violently at the sight, and they immediately struck out at the sudden intruders stealing the demon cores. Yet they learned a brutal truth the moment they attacked. The 3 bare-chested middle-aged men countered instantly, their aura surging to reveal they were at the 5th layer of the Golden Core realm. Only Xia Keoj managed to block their strike. Liang Feiyan was sent flying with a single blow, her throat filling with the coppery tang of blood, while Fu Keijun and the 3 other disciples grunted in agony, sustaining severe injuries. Who are you people? Liang Feiyan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, her heart pounding with dread. Could they be disciples of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion? They were far too old, however, to fit the profile of ordinary disciples. Only then did Liang Feiyan notice their vacant, lifeless gazes, as if they possessed no consciousness of their own. Her face turned icy cold. It's you. A string of silvery, bell-like giggles echoed out as Wu Manyue, clad in a wine, red robe, leaped atop a small snow mound and looked down at them imperiously. She had flowing raven, black hair, and a stunning, curvaceous figure that even her loose robe could not conceal. As the frigid wind blew, the fabric clung to her form, clearly outlining her long legs, waist so narrow it could be encircled by a single hand, and the full, generous curve of her bust. Unlike their last encounter, Wu Manyue wore no mask this time, revealing her true face. Her skin was so pale it seemed to glow, with a delicate oval face, almond-shaped peach blossom eyes, a high, ridged nose, and red lips as soft and vivid as newly bloomed rose petals, alluring and delicate. Zai Liushu could not help but stare in a daze. What an exquisitely beautiful woman! He had known countless women in his life, and while her looks did not measure up to peerless beauties like Xia Keoj and Liu Qingxian, she was easily among the top 10 most stunning women he had ever seen. Senior sister, I am Zai Liushu, chief disciple of the Joyous Sect. Surely there is some misunderstanding between us. This humble junior would be honored to act as a mediator to resolve this conflict peacefully. Liang Feiyan scoffed softly. Be careful, junior brother Zai. She is a venomous beauty in every sense. Junior sister Xia, senior brother Jin, and I barely escaped with our lives at her hands last time. That fragile little frame of yours won't stand a chance. Hearing that even the combined strength of Xia Keoj, Jin Zhongming, and Liang Feiyan had nearly been killed by her, Zai Liushu shuddered and immediately scrambled backward to put distance between himself and Wu Manyue. Wu Manyue held 3 small black flags in her hand, her peach blossom eyes scanning the crowd furiously. Every debt has its rightful debtor. I have no quarrel with the rest of you on one condition. Where is that brat surnamed Fang? I have come to demand an explanation from him. Over the past few days, she had returned to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, first to heal her wounds, and second to retrieve the 3/5 layer Golden Core Realm puppets under her control, all exact revenge for the humiliation she had suffered that day. The more she thought about what had happened, the angrier she grew. Every step she had taken to back down only left her feeling more wronged. The horde of Beast Kings she had spent countless resources and effort to gather, worth nearly 2,000 merit points enough to exchange for 2 nascent Soul Realm 1 Strike Jade talismans, had all been stolen by a lowly disciple from the 9 sects. Even a reincarnated bodhisattva would have been unable to tolerate such an insult, let alone a woman as ruthless and vengeful as her. This time she had brought 3/5 layer Golden Core Realm puppets, and her own spiritual power had fully recovered, putting her also at the 5th layer of the Golden Core Realm. 4 5th layer Golden Core Realm experts in total. That Fang bastard would be no match for her, even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, and he would have only himself to blame if she killed him for his insolence. She had revealed her true face today as a deliberate declaration of war. Even if the elders of the 9 sects arrived, she would not back down, and she was determined to beat that wretched bastard within an inch of his life, no matter the cost. At that very moment, she suddenly felt a hand wrap around her slender waist from behind. She glanced down, but there was nothing visible there. Shocked, she immediately struck backward with her elbow without hesitation, only to feel a cold blade press against her neck. Wu Manyue's entire body went rigid, and she dared not move an inch. She shrieked in shame and rage. "Who are you?" A playful, amused voice whispered softly against her ear. "You came all this way looking for me, and you ask who I am. It's you little bastard." Wu Manyue trembled all over, screaming in fury. But the moment she tried to move, the sword pressed against her neck, tightened slightly, cutting a faint, bleeding gash into her pale, flawless skin. "I have a name. You may call me Fang Chen. If you are feeling polite, you may address me as Junior Brother Fang," Fang Chen said calmly. Wu Manyue was nearly mad with rage, her small fists clenched tightly, her full chest heaving violently with anger. "If you have any guts, stop this cowardly sneak attack and fight me fairly." Fang Chen chuckled softly. "Senior sister Wu has a fine sense of humor. Leaving aside the 3/5 layer Golden Core Realm puppets you control, you yourself are a 5th layer Golden Core Realm expert, while I am but a lowly, insignificant junior disciple of the 9 sects. A fair duel. That joke is rather unfunny. Lowly strength, a lowly little disciple that can slay a 5th layer Golden Core Realm Beast King with a single glare. Fang Chen, I have no time for your nonsense. I will give you only 2 choices. First, return every last demon core you stole from me in Duanshan Gorge, or second, we fight to the death." Wu Manyue's eyes turned cold, her tone deadly serious. Fang Chen answered without a moment's hesitation. "I choose the third option. Senior sister Wu hands over those 3 small black flags, and I will spare your life." Wu Manyue sneered, glancing over her shoulder at the empty air behind her, her voice soft and dangerous. "Kill me, I have not hidden my identity. If you swing that sword, do you have any idea what the consequences will be?" She refused to believe Fang Chen dared to kill a disciple of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, an act that would bring unimaginable, catastrophic disaster down on his head. The hand around her waist tightened suddenly, yanking her back hard against a warm, solid chest. Her delicate, fragrant shoulders, soft hips, and long legs were all pressed flush against Fang Chen's body. She shrieked in humiliation and fury. "What do you think you're doing?" Fang Chen whispered, his lips almost brushing the shell of her ear. "Look at what is ahead of you." Wu Manyue lifted her head and saw a roaring, blazing fire, billowing thick black smoke, filling the air with a sharp, acrid stench. She squinted and made out what was burning in the flames, 4 or 5 human corpses. Her pupils shrank to pinpricks and she cried out in shock, "You are burning corpses." "Fallen disciples of the 9 sects." Fang Chen's tone was heavy with meaning. "All 9 sects' disciples who fall in battle are sent back to their hometowns for honorable, grand burials. Only unknown, worthless bandits are cremated so carelessly like this." Wu Manyue sucked in a sharp, cold breath, her entire body trembling. You killed Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion disciples. What bandit would be foolish enough to operate in the Boundary Mountains? What would bandits even rob here? Demon cores. There was no doubt in her mind that the dead were Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion disciples who had hidden their identities. Fang Chen shook his head. No, no, no. They are nothing but a gang of brigands who treat human lives as worthless grass and have murdered multiple disciples of the 9 sects. Every soul under heaven is justified in slaying them. Senior Sister Wu, you also nearly killed 3 of our top 9 sects disciples earlier, did you not? Hearing those final words, a cold chill ran down Wu Manyue's spine. This man named Fang Chen was utterly lawless, even daring to kill disciples of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion without hesitation. She spoke hurriedly. "Do not wrong me. It is true that I schemed to make them drain the Beast King's strength for me, but I had no idea they were disciples of the 9 sects." Fang Chen said flatly, "A single claim of ignorance is enough to wipe the slate clean. You speak so lightly, Senior Sister Wu. If I kill you right now, can I also brush it off with a single line that I did not know? Conveniently, the fire has not died out yet. It is more than enough to burn one more of you." The long sword dragged slowly across her skin, its icy edge slicing into her flesh and sending waves of excruciating, stabbing pain through her body. A flicker of panic flashed across Wu Manyue's eyes. "Fine, I will give you 1 black flag." She separated 1 flag from the 3 black flags in her hand, but the arm wrapped around her waist suddenly loosened, snatched all 3 black flags away in one move, then shoved her off the small snow mound. As Fang Chen pulled off his turtle breath cloak, a face brimming with delight was revealed. Gazing at the 3 small black flags, he wore an unmistakably overjoyed expression. "Thank you for delivering treasures from thousands of li away, Senior Sister Wu." Wu Manyue tumbled down the snow mound, overcome with shame and rage. "I deliver your ancestor. This lady will never let you off." She was truly mad with fury. She had returned in grandeur with 3 puppet subordinates, yet her triumph lasted less than 3 seconds before Fang Chen snatched all 3 black flags away. Could there be anything more humiliating than this? Whoosh, her wine, red robe fluttered without wind, and pitch, black chains as dark as ink snaked out from her sleeves like venomous serpents. Fang Chen tapped the tip of his foot against the ground, activating his movement technique to retreat over a dozen zhang. Boom, the chain slammed into the snow mound, blowing it apart instantly. Wisps of visible black flame clung to the shattered ice, burning it away rapidly. "Even without my puppets, I can still take care of you, you bastard." Wu Manyue was seething with shame and rage. She shook her hands, and the black chains chased after Fang Chen like writhing, mad serpents. Fang Chen's eyelids twitched slightly. This woman's weapon was rather strange. That black flame was no ordinary fire, but a type of yin fire. If one came into contact with it, it would not only burn one's flesh and blood, but also incinerate one's soul. Disciples of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, at the 5th layer of the Golden Core realm, all possess exceptionally strong combat strength. If one does not use soul secret techniques, it takes considerable effort to defeat them in normal combat. Lang Qingzhu before and Wu Manyue now are both like this. However, Fang Chen was no longer the same person he used to be. His gaze shifted, and he decisively took out the 5-magnet primordial mountain, intending to test the effects of this spirit artifact. The moment he pulled it out, an incredibly heavy force pressed down on him, dragging him straight toward the ground. He hurriedly circulated his soul power to wrap around it. To his surprise, once held by his soul power, it suddenly became as light as a feather. This reminded Fang Chen of that nascent soul realm cave abode, which contained a 9-dragon demon cauldron that also required soul power to lift. However, even if Fang Chen exhausted every last bit of his soul power, he could only lift the 9-dragon demon cauldron by a hair's breadth, yet the 5-magnet primordial mountain before him was lifted with ease. The chains clattered loudly as they hurtled toward him. Fang Chen put aside all distracting thoughts, immediately wrapping his soul power around the 5-magnet primordial mountain and hurling it toward Wu Manyue. What was that thing? He was actually throwing a stone at people. Wu Manyue froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. If you really have no proper magical artifacts, just call me good elder sister, and I will give you 2 as a gift. But very soon, Wu Manyue realized something was wrong. The 5-magnet primordial mountain, which had looked no bigger than a fist at first, grew in size as it traveled through the wind, instantly swelling to the size of a small hillock. A huge shadow descended, covering her entirely. What shocked Wu Manyue even more was that the 5-colored light emanating from the 5-magnet primordial mountain possessed an unimaginable magnetic force. The chains in her hand clattered loudly, all of them pulled away by the 5-magnet primordial mountain, clinging tightly to its surface. Wu Manyue tried to pull them back, but they did not move an inch, as if they had grown roots into the mountain. She was not the only one affected. Aishuang, the sword on Fang Chen's back, made a sharp clang, was suddenly wrenched away, and stuck to the 5-magnet primordial mountain. The sword in Xia Keo's hand also began to tremble violently. Her expression shifted slightly, and she circulated the spiritual power of the 5th layer of Golden Core Realm to try to bring it under control, but it still gave a sharp clang, splitting the skin of her palm's tiger's mouth before being forcefully pulled away. The sword at Liang Feiyan's waist, the kin in Fu Keijun's hand, even all the hidden weapons on Aoyong Jun's body, were all snatched away by the magnetic force. In an instant, the entire surface of the 5-magnet primordial mountain was covered in the magical artifacts it had pulled in. Aoyong Jun's eyes nearly popped out of his head. This was the 5-magnet primordial mountain, the spirit artifact that no one in our 1,000 refinements sect had been able to activate for hundreds of years. He could barely believe his own eyes. This spirit artifact, which no one had been able to activate for hundreds of years, that even the pavilion master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion could do nothing about, had actually been activated by Fang Chen. What is more, he had even awakened one of its special abilities, weapon seizure. It was said that the stronger one's soul power, the more powerful the weapon seizure ability became. Just imagine, in the heat of a fierce battle, if the enemy's weapon is suddenly seized, would that not result in a completely one-sided rout? Moreover, seizing weapons is but one of the powers of the 5-magnetic primordial mountain. Only now did Aoyong Jun realize it far too late. Fang Chen's entire act of making the exchange at a great loss was all a damned facade. He had been fool enough to be endlessly grateful to the other party, even offering to forge 4 more high-grade magical artifacts as compensation. Fang Chen, you son of a bitch. Aoyong Jun laughed in exasperation. You scammed me so thoroughly, I don't even recognize my own parents anymore. He was so jealous that his back molars were grinding to dust. Spirit artifact, that was a genuine spirit artifact. Fang Chen had traded nothing more than a single demonic beast claw to obtain an incomparably powerful spirit artifact. He had run business his entire life, and had never suffered a loss so agonizing it made him want to cough up blood. All he could do was burn with envy from the sidelines. The 5-magnetic primordial mountain had been stored in the 1,000 forging sect for countless years. If they had been able to activate its power, they would have done so long ago. To the 1,000 forging sect, the value of the 5-magnetic primordial mountain was exactly what Fang Chen had paid for it. It was only because Fang Chen was blessed with extraordinary talent that he could unleash its true power. This was not something one could covet, much less resent. Liang Feiyan's eyes nearly bulged out of his head. TCH, he actually traded with Aoyong Jun to get a spirit artifact. His eyes turned red with instant jealousy. I, Liang Feiyan, am officially envious. Fu Keijun was completely defeated, clenching his fists as he roared. Is there any heavenly justice left? Is there any law left? Every last good thing ends up in his hands. Zai Liushu's heart was also almost shattered by jealousy. Heavens, come and do something about this bastard. It's bad enough that he's taken all the peerless beauties into his embrace, but he also has to be the first to get a spirit artifact. Is there any way for us ordinary people to survive? Even the usually calm Xia Keoj, after glancing at his own bleeding tiger's mouth between thumb and index finger, could not help but show a look of speechlessness. Martial Uncle's luck is simply too heaven-defying. He can even get a spirit artifact. There truly is no justice. Unlike the relaxed onlookers, Wu Manyue had no time for stray thoughts at this moment, for the enormous shadow of the 5-magnetic primordial mountain had enveloped her, crashing down at terrifying speed. Brat, you stole my weapon. I'll fight you to the death. A sharp glint flashed in Wu Manyue's eyes. Seizing the opportunity when Fang Chen was occupied with controlling the 5 magnetic primordial mountain and could not spare a hand, she swiftly took out a movement talisman and stuck it to her body with a sharp whoosh. She erupted with a terrifying movement technique that carried her 10 zhang forward in a single step. With such incredible speed, escaping the suppression of the 5 magnetic primordial mountain should be completely effortless, right? But to her shock, Wu Manyue found she was still trapped beneath the 5 magnetic primordial mountain. She looked up and her heart filled with terror. She had clearly surged forward a full 10 zhang, but the 5 magnetic primordial mountain above her head seemed to have teleported, moving with her instantly as it continued to plummet straight down. A stunned Wu Manyue flashed forward again and again, but no matter where she ran or where she fled, the 5 magnetic primordial mountain followed her like a shadow. From afar, Ao Yongjun said sourly, "That is another ability of the 5 magnetic primordial mountain, 5 elements enemy tracking. No matter if you are a peerless powerhouse or an ordinary living being, as long as you bear the power of the 5 elements within you, you cannot escape the mountain's pursuit. But what living being does not hold the power of the 5 elements within them? They may lack metal, wood, fire, or earth, but they will always have water, unless they have no blood in their veins and no water in their stomachs." Liang Feiyan was completely dumbfounded. This is simply too heaven-defying. Zai Liushu sucked in a cold breath. Unless you have attained immortality, there is no one the 5 magnetic primordial mountain cannot subdue. Fu Kejun was so frustrated he could not even cry. How is anyone supposed to fight against that? If you run into the 5 magnetic primordial mountain, you might as well surrender immediately. In truth, even surrender would not save you. Wu Manyue attempted to break through several times, all to no avail, as the 5 magnetic primordial mountain slammed down upon her. Wu Manyue was both furious and terrified. A lousy broken mountain. Do you think your grandma is scared of you? She immediately circulated spiritual power in her palm, slamming it fiercely against the base of the descending 5 magnetic primordial mountain. But the moment her palm made contact, her face twisted in terror as she discovered all her spiritual power had been sealed off by the power of the 5 elements emanating from the 5 magnetic primordial mountain. In other words, she only had her physical strength left to use. But as someone who had never practiced body cultivation, her physical strength was even weaker than that of a first-layer Golden Core Realm disciple from the giant sect. The outcome was obvious. With a pained shriek, the bones in Wu Manyue's arms snapped instantly, and the weight, far heavier than she had imagined, crushed her directly beneath it. Fortunately, this is a domain of ice and snow, with soft, fluffy layers of frost below acting as a buffer. Had she fallen on unyielding hard ground, she would have been crushed into a pulp by now. Fang Chen landed atop the 5 magnetic origin mountain, unconcealed delight shining in his eyes. He had indeed obtained a phenomenal treasure. It could seize enemy weapons, lock onto targets through the 5 elements, and seal spiritual power. This was nothing short of a divine artifact for subduing foes. The evil spirit dwelling in the dark mirror in his bosom seemed to sense the outside world. When it spotted the mountain beneath Fang Chen's feet, it immediately let out a horrified, desperate shriek. 5 magnetic origin mountain, isn't this the supreme treasure of the ancient 5 elements? Divine Lord, have my eyes failed me? This is a top-grade spirit artifact, the very pinnacle of all spirit artifacts. Fang Chen grew even more ecstatic. He had truly acquired an extraordinarily powerful magical artifact. A sharp glint flashed across his gaze, and Fang Chen asked, "You know the origin of this mountain?" The evil spirit was overwhelmed with excitement, and it spoke rapidly. Who does not know of the 5 elements divine Lord's supreme treasure? In ancient times, the 5 elements divine Lord swept all opposition with this very mountain. How many famous soul formation realm old monsters were defeated beneath its crushing weight. He himself also relied on the 5 elements divine light contained within this mountain to break through the shackles of the nascent soul realm, leaping in a single bound to become a soul formation realm titan. But how did his 5 magnetic origin mountain end up in your hands? Boy, where did you get this mountain? This was the first time Fang Chen had ever seen the evil spirit lose its composure so thoroughly, but he could hardly blame it. Even Fang Chen himself had nearly been stunned by this revelation. The original owner of the 5 magnetic origin mountain was actually such an unfathomable soul formation realm existence. Steadying his mind, Fang Chen briefly recounted how he had obtained the treasure. A claw from a peak 9th-layer Golden Core Realm demonic beast. Fucking hell, back in the day, I fought tooth and nail to seize this low-grade spirit artifact, the Heart Illumination Ancient Mirror, and was left with nothing but a tattered fragment of my soul. And you traded some garbage materials for a top-grade spirit artifact. Fuck that accursed heavenly Tao. The evil spirit was completely pushed over the edge on the spot, and the entire heart illumination ancient mirror trembled violently as a result. Fang Chen rubbed his nose and coughed lightly, saying, "You mentioned just now that the 5 elements divine light of this mountain can help cultivators break through to the soul formation realm. Can you elaborate on that?" The evil spirit huffed furiously. "Don't speak to me. I never want to utter a single word to you for the rest of my existence." It let out a heavy snort and immediately sank into self-imposed seclusion, ignoring all of Fang Chen's subsequent calls no matter how he tried to rouse it. This old bastard, Fang Chen, was unceremoniously snubbed, his face etched with frustration. But there was someone far more frustrated at the foot of the mountain. Wu Manyue was letting out miserable, ragged groans. To be precise, her breath was leaving her far faster than it came in. Though she was lucky enough not to be crushed into pulp on the spot, her internal organs and every bone in her body had been shattered, and she was only moments away from death. Fang Chen raised his palm and retracted the 5 magnetic origin mountain, which shrank down to the size of a palm. He wove his soul power to store it inside the heavenly thunderstone. Gazing at the dying Wu Manyue, Fang Chen fell into deep thought. She could not die now. He still had not learned how to use the 3 black flags in her possession. He immediately took out a revival elixir and fed it to her. A short while later, the woman who had been hanging on by a thread regained steady vital signs, though the searing pain racking her entire body made her gasp for air constantly. "Senior Sister Wu, I just saved your life. You wouldn't refuse to repay the favor, would you?" Fang Chen asked beside her, a faint, amused smirk playing on his lips. Wu Manyue was so furious she wished she could beat Fang Chen to death on the spot. He had nearly crushed her into a pulp, and still had the audacity to demand repayment. But her entire body was gravely injured, and she could not move even a single finger. She grit her silver teeth hard and retorted, "Repay? What repayment? I'll spend a night with you. If you dare take me up on the offer, I don't mind at all." Fang Chen dared not touch this venomous beauty. One wrong move, and she would strike him from the shadows. Even if he managed to keep his life, he would be lucky to escape without crippling injury or losing something extremely precious to any man. No need for that. How could I make things difficult for a senior sister? Fang Chen took out the 3 small black flags and said, "I only wish to know the control method for these 3 flags. If you tell me, I will let you go today and gift you 10 demonic beast cores as a show of good faith." First 2 sentences sent Wu Manyue's blood pressure soaring, asking for her core secret technique and claiming he was not making things difficult for her. When she heard the final part, she was so furious her lungs nearly burst, and she sneered, "Your good faith is so overwhelming, I'm practically moved to tears. 10 demonic cores for my core secret technique? Even beggars would get more than that if you tried to send them away." Fang Chen smiled brightly. "We can negotiate the terms, can't we? If you think it's too little, I'll add 1 more. Wu Manyue clutched her stomach, her face twisted in pain, not from her wounds, but from a stomach ache brought on by rage. She ground her teeth so hard they nearly shattered over my dead body, but then a cunning thought crossed her mind. Fang Chen wanted the control method so badly. Fine, she would give it to him. She would pass on a fake version and make a humiliated fool out of him when he tried to use it. He immediately put on an air of negotiation. "I admit defeat for being captured by you today, but if you wish to obtain my puppet talisman manipulation art, you must show sufficient sincerity. Hand over 50 demonic cores." 50. Liang Feiyin could not bear to listen any longer and snapped, "You have yet to grasp your current predicament. Sparing your life is already an act of mercy from junior brother Fang, yet you dare to make such an extortionate demand." Fang Chen only harvested a little over 60 demonic cores total in the heaven-severing gorge, and this woman demands 50 as soon as she opens her mouth. How absurd. "I will consider it." A glint flashed across Fang Chen's eyes, then he quietly activated the ancient heart reflection mirror and shone it at Wu Manyue. Every thought in her mind immediately appeared in his head. "Want to learn my peerless art? Let alone 50 demonic cores. I would not teach it even for 500. Besides, even if I did teach him the art, would he even be capable of mastering it?" Just as she thought this, Fang Chen seemed to make a difficult choice. He gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, 50 it is. However, you must teach me the art first, so I may verify whether it is genuine." Wu Manyue sneered inwardly. "Fool, he has taken the bait already. I do not care for the measly 50 demonic cores you would give me. All I want is to make you suffer a crushing humiliation." She immediately said, "Fetch paper and brush. I shall teach you this art." Fang Chen immediately brought paper and brush for her. Wu Manyue picked up the brush and began to write furiously, thinking to herself, change this part here, this key section also needs to be altered, and this part too. All the crucial links will be completely falsified. Fang Chen listened to her inner thoughts, and could not help but snicker silently. As she was deliberating which parts to falsify, she had already gone over the real content in her mind once, and every single detail was imprinted perfectly in Fang Chen's head. Before long, Wu Manyue said, "It is done, take it." She handed the written cultivation method to Fang Chen, sneering ceaselessly in her heart. "If you forcefully cultivate this, your meridians will reverse flow, and you will cough up blood on the spot." She was extremely pleased with her handiwork. Fang Chen nodded and took it, saying, "Senior Sister Wu is indeed forthright. Let me test it out first." Mischief glinted in Wu Manyue's eyes as she said, "Cultivate without worry. I, Wu Manyue, have enough credibility for such a small matter." Seeing that Fang Chen truly intended to cultivate, Zia Keoj and the others grew restless. "Martial uncle, are you not being too hasty to cultivate this right away?" She was confused. Her martial uncle was normally extremely cautious, so why was he being so reckless as to cultivate a method provided by Wu Manyue? Liang Feiyan also advised, "Junior brother Fang, think this through carefully. Taking advantage of this woman is no easy feat." Zai Liush's lips twitched. "He just told me to take it easy a moment ago, yet he jumps headfirst into this the second I turn my back." Fu Keijun was also speechless. This woman was obviously not someone to be trifled with, who would dare to recklessly cultivate a cultivation method she gave out. Fang Chen acted as if he heard nothing, sat cross-legged, and immediately began cultivating silently. Half an hour passed, and Wu Manyue had recovered about 70 to 80% of her strength, secretly marveling at the miraculous effects of this healing medicinal pill. She would not forgive Fang Chen for this, however. What confused her was that half an hour of cultivation had already passed logically. Fang Chen should have long suffered from chaotic reversed meridians and been coughing up blood non-stop. Why did he look completely unharmed? At that moment, Fang Chen slowly opened his eyes, a hint of satisfaction on his face. Wu Manyue was stunned. "You have finished cultivating." Fang Chen nodded. "Thank you for providing the cultivation method, Senior Sister Wu. I have mostly mastered it. Controlling 3 formation flags should be no issue." Wu Manyue did not believe it in the slightest. What she had written was a fake cultivation method, with none of the key content included. Unless Fang Chen had not cultivated it at all, he would definitely have run into problems. Realizing this, she said teasingly, "Is that so? Why not perform a demonstration on the spot for your fellow senior brothers and sisters, so they can see how you learned to control the formation flags so quickly?" Zia Keoj saw the expression on Wu Manyue's face and immediately knew there was definitely a major problem with the cultivation method, and that Fang Chen had most likely not cultivated it. She tried to give him an out, saying, "Martial uncle, there is no need for a demonstration. With your natural talent, we all believe you have mastered it." Liang Feiyan and the others quickly came to the same realization, and all spoke up to give Fang Chen a way out. Wu Manyue had no intention of passing up the chance to humiliate Fang Chen. "Since you all believe him, what harm is there in a demonstration?" She looked at Fang Chen with a mocking half-smile. "Or could it be that you have not even mastered such a simple puppet art?" "That cannot be, right? I wrote down all the key points of the cultivation method clearly. Even a fool should be able to cultivate it. Surely you have not failed to learn it." Fang Chen stroked his chin. His original intention for seizing the 3 formation flags was not actually to covet Wu Manyue's cultivation method. Rather, what was safer than sending puppets to scout the path ahead, he only needed to control the puppet talisman from a distance to approach the army of Death Dwellers. If he truly encountered danger, he could have the puppets cover his retreat while he fled first. As for any losses, they were not his puppets anyway, so he felt no distress. Having just finished cultivating, he also truly needed to test whether the puppets could be controlled as smoothly as he expected. "Fine, I will test it," Fang Chen agreed readily. This left Wu Manyue stunned instead. This fellow was so confident. Could he have actually mastered it? But how was that possible? The method she gave him was fake. At this thought, Wu Manyue relaxed slightly, a playful sneer on her lips. She crossed her arms under her full chest, watching Fang Chen with eager anticipation for him to make a fool of himself. Fang Chen gripped the 3 small black flags in one hand, while secretly activating the cultivation method. After reciting a segment of obscure incantation, he tapped each of the 3 black flags lightly with his fingertip. A scene that left Wu Manyue's expression frozen, solid unfolded. The 3 motionless Golden Core Realm 5th layer puppets all jumped into the air at the same time. After landing, the 3 immediately dropped flat on the snowy ground, remaining perfectly still despite the bone. piercing cold of the ice beneath them, then began to fight one another. Asterisk crack, bang, asterisk the three puppets fought each other without hesitation, striking with full force, unafraid of injury or even death as they attacked to kill, each advancing forward. The three puppets, all bearing wounds, stopped fighting and began walking straight in different directions. They each walked roughly 5 li before coming to a complete halt, motionless once more. Fang Chen nodded slightly. The small black flags can control them within a radius of 5 li. Beyond this range, the puppets will no longer obey commands. Facing the dangerous army of death dwellers, 5 li is not exactly very safe, but it is far safer than facing them directly. Combined with the turtle breath cloak, there should be no major issues. Why, you actually mastered it. Wu Manyue's alluring red lips parted slightly, her crystal eyes filled with utter shock. Her mind went completely blank. She had clearly given him a fake cultivation method, so how could Fang Chen have mastered it? It was impossible. Fang Chen smiled faintly with a hint of mockery. I have senior sister Wu to thank for writing down all the key points of the cultivation method in such detail. Otherwise, how could I have mastered it so quickly? Liang Feiyan looked stunned. Wait, this woman actually wrote the cultivation method for junior brother Fang. Zai Liushu rubbed his nose. Is junior brother Fang's charm really that great? This woman is obviously a tough character to deal with, yet she actually obediently wrote down the cultivation method for him. Zia Keoj also wore a look of surprise. She pondered for a long moment, as if realizing something, and sighed softly, as expected of a renowned ladies' man. She was truly impressed. She could understand other women throwing themselves at Fang Chen, but Wu Manyue was a sworn enemy just a moment ago, and now she had given him such a core cultivation method in full. It was simply absurd. Probably the only women Fang Chen could not handle were those from the demon race, she thought with a quiet sigh. As the party involved, Wu Manyue was completely dumbfounded. When had she ever written down detailed key points for him? Keoj, Yu, and the other senior brothers continued to guard the boundary mountain. I shall make a trip to the demon race territory. With those words, he waved the 3 black flags, and 3 puppets converged around Fang Chen in quick succession. Wu Manyue panicked instantly. What are you doing taking my puppets with you? Your puppets? Fang Chen shook his head and corrected. Since senior sister Wu passed the puppet technique to me, she has acknowledged me as the master of the black flags. From this moment onward, the black flags and the puppet tome are mine. I ask senior sister Wu to mind your words. Wu Manyue's jaw clenched so hard her teeth were nearly ground to dust. Suddenly, her bright eyes darted, and she spoke with a soft smile. I almost forgot if you didn't mention it. Since I passed the puppet tome technique to you, shouldn't you uphold our agreement and return the 50 demon cores to me? Though in her eyes, 50 demon cores were far less valuable than her inherited technique, exchanging them for a jade talisman that could deliver a full nascent soul realm strike was enough to recoup most of her losses. Fang Chen nodded. Of course I will keep the agreement. You may rest assured of that. For all his words, he made no move whatsoever. Wu Manyue frowned. What is the meaning of this? Are you going back on your word? Fang Chen shrugged and said, I never said I would give them to you right now. Giving them at a later date does not count as breaking the agreement. Later? How much later? After the merit-reward mission concludes. After the great war between the human race and the demon race subsides. Or when I am on my deathbed. You liar! Wu Manyue's eyes blazed with rage. Her pink fists clenched as she was about to charge at Fang Chen to fight to the death. She held herself back at the last second. A mature, elegant woman must control her emotions at all times. Of course, the primary reason was that she was no match for Fang Chen. Grinding her pearly white teeth, she glared fiercely at Fang Chen. If there is nothing else, I shall take my leave first. Fang Chen waved his hand. Wu Manyue watched her 3 precious puppet tomes depart alongside Fang Chen, her eyes filled with wrenching heartache. When she obtained that inheritance all those years ago, she only received a total of 5 black flags. She had already used 4 of them. One controlling the flower python was slain by Fang Chen, its black flag destroyed, and now the final 3 had been seized by Fang Chen. Is this little bastard my bane? She could not let this matter end like this. Her bright eyes flickered once more as she lifted her wine, red gauze skirt, her enchanting figure chasing after him rapidly. A warm, affectionate smile spread across her charming face. Senior sister will accompany you. Heh, even a fool could tell this woman harbored ill intentions. No need. This trip carries considerable danger. You would be best served not to follow, Fang Chen warned seriously. How would Wu Manyue believe that? There was no small number of Heavenly Secrets Pavilion disciples heading to the demon race territory. If there was any real danger, they would have returned long ago. Junior brother Fang, this humble one has even given you a cultivation method as precious as my own life and fortune. Are you truly going to cast me aside like this? Her tone was mournful, her expression pitiful, her two small hands crossed in front of her chest as if she did not know where to put them. She followed Fang Chen closely, keeping a perfect distance, as if she feared losing him if she fell too far, and feared incurring Fang Chen's dislike if she drew too near. Fang Chen was somewhat impressed by this woman. Anyone unaware of the full context would truly think he had done something untoward to her. He warned again, I am warning you out of kindness. This trip is truly dangerous. If you are not afraid, then follow along. Just do not blame me when you encounter danger later. For the sake of the tome Wu Manyue had provided, Fang Chen warned her repeatedly. If this woman was stubborn enough to follow regardless, there was nothing he could do. Wu Manyue's worry turned to joy. She quickened her steps to catch up, affectionately hooking her arm through Fang Chen's, her voluptuous figure pressed against his as she laughed through unshed tears. I knew junior brother would never abandon me. This sight made several men grind their teeth in rage. Liang Feiyan's eyes widened. Very well, so you are going to flaunt your affection right in front of us. Let us go, let us see what other blind demonic beast couples are running wild on the Boundary Mountain. I will break up every pair I see, every group I encounter. Xia Keoj gave Fang Chen a resentful look, pouting her small lips slightly. You know she is a wicked woman, yet you still dare to bring her along. I hope you do not come back crying. Once they crossed the Boundary Mountain, Fang Chen activated his movement technique, gliding low over the snow plain, leaving not a single footprint or trace behind as he traveled. He glanced back at Wu Manyue behind him. The moment her foot landed, she sank into snow deeper than her own height, only her head sticking out. She finally managed to jump out, took one step forward, and sank into the snow again. After several repetitions, she was both furious and anxious. Without a spirit beast, traveling through this place was pure torture. Being stared at by Fang Chen made her face flush bright red. What are you looking at? Pull me up already. She had thought Fang Chen would take this chance to persuade her to return. Unexpectedly, after a moment of thought, Fang Chen turned back, stepped lightly to her side, pulled her out of the snow in one motion, then wrapped an arm around her and sped across the snow plain. If they encountered powerful enemies later, someone like Wu Manyue, who left a large number of traces in the snow, was obviously the perfect decoy to draw the enemy's attention, while Fang Chen could move without leaving a trace and slip away silently. As for her safety, Fang Chen did not for a second think that someone as cunning as Wu Manyue would lack life, saving trump cards. He was even certain that her current act of being unable to keep up was feigned, meant to make Fang Chen lower his guard. If they truly encountered danger, this woman would probably run no slower than he did. What wicked scheme are you plotting in that head of yours? Wu Manyue stared deeply into Fang Chen's eyes, a hint of suspicion flickering through her gaze from time to time. Though they had not interacted much, Wu Manyue had already gotten a taste of Fang Chen's shrewdness. Kindly bringing a dead weight along with him while traveling through the demon race territory was nothing like something Fang Chen would do. Fang Chen gave her a gentle, friendly smile. Senior Sister Wu is overthinking things. Since I agreed to let you come along, I will naturally protect you well. I have no other intentions. TCH, we are both foxes who have cultivated for 1,000 years. Spare me the ghost stories. Wu Manyue stared at him intently and asked, Can you tell me how you managed to learn my puppet technique? This matter weighed heavily on her mind, more than she could say. Even now, she could not wrap her head around it. How could Fang Chen cultivate a fake cultivation method and produce real results? It made no sense at all. Fang Chen still wore that friendly smile, bright and pure like any other boy his age. Did I not say it earlier? Senior sister wrote it so clearly that this junior brother was able to succeed. Wu Manyue ground her pearly teeth. Did Fang Chen truly not know what kind of garbage that cultivation method was? He was still putting on an act. She was now completely certain of her assumption. This boy was incredibly slippery. Trying to worm his secrets out of him so directly was nothing more than a fool's errand. However, she had not insisted on following Fang Chen for no reason. HMPH, you little bastard, it is a good thing I kept a backup. You can control the black flags now, but they contain my blood essence. I am their true master. If we both try to control them at the same time, the black flags will only obey my orders, not yours. Once I find the right opportunity, I will let you taste what it is like to be backstabbed by your own puppets. Wu Manyue sneered coldly in her heart. Did anyone truly believe the belongings of Wu Manyue were so easily seized? When they encountered danger later and Fang Chen needed the 3 puppets to assist him, she would suddenly order the puppets to strike him from behind. By then, Fang Chen would be caught in a pincer attack, so enraged he would surely spit blood. Just imagining that scene made her tremble slightly with excitement. Are you having a seizure? Fang Chen glanced at her. Wu Manyue's peach blossom eyes widened sharply. You're the one having a seizure. I'm just very excited. This is my first time entering the demon race lands. Fang Chen smiled meaningfully and said, then you better prepare yourself mentally. When you see some bizarre, unheard of things later, don't cramp up from fear on the spot. Wu Manyue was amused. As a disciple of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, she had weathered far more storms and upheavals than disciples of the 9 major sects. This was far from her first visit to the demon race lands. She had even nearly ventured into the demon race's core hinterlands once before. Unless they encountered that demon emperor, she could not imagine anything that could frighten her so badly she would cramp up. Then if I do cramp up, you have to hold me tight. Wu Manyue chuckled, looping her snow-white lotus-like arms around Fang Chen's neck, her plump, soft, delicate body pressing deep into his embrace. A faint, alluring fragrance drifted over to him. As their movement technique jostled them, she deliberately rubbed against Fang Chen's body, a teasing glint flashing across her face from time to time. Fang Chen's face flushed slightly. This damned vixen, she better not cry later. They flew at high speed for a full 2 hours, having ventured quite a distance into the demon race's territory. Along the way, they encountered over half a dozen scattered demonic beasts. Regardless of whether they were at the Foundation Establishment Realm or Golden Core Realm, Fang Chen slew every last one and harvested their demon cores. Exhaling a soft breath, Fang Chen sat atop a demonic beast's corpse, crossed his legs, and circulated his cultivation method to replenish his spiritual power. A sharp glint flashed in Wu Manyue's eyes. Junior brother, your spiritual power seems to be running a bit low. If we run into danger later, will you still be able to flee at high speed while carrying me? She had finally discovered Fang Chen's fatal flaw, his cultivation realm. No matter how many extraordinary tricks Fang Chen had up his sleeve, his shortcoming was deadly. His realm was far too low. This resulted in his spiritual power being vastly inferior to Wu Manyue's. If they encountered even a moderately difficult opponent, Fang Chen's spiritual power would be depleted very quickly. At that time, if she turned on him and struck, Fang Chen would be lucky to escape with his life, even if he did not die outright. Relax, there's no problem. Fang Chen replied casually. He could replenish his spiritual power any time he wanted by taking a spirit replenishing pill. The reason he was circulating his art to absorb spiritual energy was actually to use the cover of cultivation to secretly communicate with the evil spirit. At his speed, they had traveled 400 to 500 li in 2 hours. Yet he still had not encountered the corpse army. Could he have chosen the wrong direction to search? Evil spirit, senior, nascent soul venerable, no matter how he called, the evil spirit did not respond. Fang Chen could not help but mutter, "You're already at the nascent soul realm, yet you have such a petty heart. Are you throwing a silent tantrum and ignoring me?" Only then did the evil spirit's furious voice ring out from within the black mirror. "You have no idea what it's like to bear the cost. Would you be willing to trade your 5 magnetic primordial mountain for a pile of scrap materials?" Fang Chen rolled his eyes. "Then keep throwing your tantrum. Pretend I never asked. What a joke. Even if his brain was kicked to pulp by a donkey, he would never agree to such a trade." The evil spirit snapped irritably. "A freakishly lucky bastard like you should only go out at noon." "Hey, why are you insulting me? This top-grade spiritual artifact was obtained with my own skill. How does it bother you?" Besides, the evil spirit seemed to sense something and spoke even more irritably. "I told you to stay away from the corpse army, but you just had to march right under their noses. Hurry up and hang me somewhere visible. I don't want to end up buried with you in this frozen wasteland." "What? The corpse army is nearby." Fang Chen's heart skipped a beat. He immediately grabbed Wu Manyue and flew up to the top of a tall, towering ice pillar. "What are you doing?" Wu Manyue had been sitting peacefully eating dry rations and was suddenly hauled up by Fang Chen, nearly choking on her food. However, when she looked down from their high vantage point and saw the scene in the basin ahead, she trembled violently in fear. The dry ration in her mouth fell out, landing on her full, raised chest before bouncing off and flying away. What is that?" Wu Manyue asked in disbelief. In that basin lay a vast, dark horde of demonic beasts, so dense they stretched all the way to the end of the horizon, their numbers innumerable. A conservative estimate put their count at no less than 1,000. As if that was not enough, these demonic beasts were all rotting all over, their putrid stench drifting over with the wind, making Wu Manyue retch violently, her stomach churning from the small amount of dry rations she had just eaten. Worse still, some of the demonic beasts had rotted away until nothing but skeletons remained. Strangely enough, they were still alive, slowly marching toward them at an unhurried pace. Wu Manyue had always considered herself well informed, but the bizarre scene before her left her stunned on the spot. Their corpses, the corpse army, commanded by the demon race priests. Even Fang Chen could not help but suck in a cold breath as he looked at the vast, endless army of corpses stretching as far as the eye could see. Hearing about it from the evil spirit was one thing. Seeing it with his own eyes was another entirely. There actually existed such a terrifying divine ability in the world, capable of manipulating dead corpses to fight. They felt no pain, feared no death, and as they were not living beings, they had no vital points. Killing them was extremely difficult, and their numbers were simply boundless. How could anyone possibly fight them? A deep, heavy weight pressed down on his heart. When Wu Manyue heard that they were corpses, she trembled uncontrollably, her pupils shrinking to pinpricks, her voice filled with uncontrollable terror. You can't mean that this is the legendary corpse army that appeared in ancient times. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the ground, her eyes fixed straight on the vast, boundless corpse army, her face deathly pale. From the perspective of the human race, she felt a deep, gnawing despair. How could they fight this? Was there even the slightest hope of victory? Fang Chen snapped out of his shock, said nothing, and immediately took out 3 black flags, casting spells on them at once. The 3 puppets that had been following them beneath the snow immediately leaped out. At Fang Chen's command, the 3 puppets immediately quietly headed toward the tidal wave of corpse beasts. What are you doing? Wu Manyue jumped in fright. Fang Chen said, catch one and bring it back, to convince the entire border mountain defense line to retreat. Such a massive corpse army is no longer something the small number of people on board mountain can resist. We can only retreat to Sunset City. Are you courting death? Wu Manyue cried out in alarm. What if we alert the corpse army? Fang Chen narrowed his eyes and said, we run, of course. What, stay here and wait to die? Wu Manyue was both shocked and terrified, complaining, why didn't you tell me this earlier? If I knew it was this dangerous, you couldn't have dragged me here even if you beat me to death. Fang Chen chuckled coldly. If I remember correctly, you were the one who insisted on following me, right? Only then did Wu Manyue remember that Fang Chen had warned her there would be danger, but she had not taken it seriously at the time. But you never mentioned it would be this perilous. Wu Manyue was consumed by crippling regret. Heaven only knew this little brat had actually come to capture the Death Ruler. If they were discovered, Wu Manyue dared not even fathom the consequences. Leaving aside the prospect of being hunted down by the endless horde of undead corpses, the demon clan priest commanding this colossal army of the dead would never be weak in power. If she chose to give chase, even if they possessed heaven-defying abilities, they would hardly be guaranteed escape. The 3 Qiutu had already snuck quietly to the edge of the undead army. Under Fang Chen's control, they struck abruptly, targeting a small demonic beast that appeared to have been at the Foundation establishment realm when alive. Each grabbed one of the small demonic beast's legs, hoisting it upside down like pigs being slaughtered for the new year as they raced back swiftly. Wu Manyue watched the movements of the undead army intently, her heart in her throat as she silently prayed that they would not be detected. If they were spotted, all would be lost. Fortunately, these undead troops possessed no spiritual intelligence, and they showed no reaction at all when one of their own was taken. Before long, the 3 Qiutu returned. Though the small demonic beast was at the Foundation establishment realm, the label of small was only relative to the mountain-sized adult demonic beasts. Its own frame was still as large as a firewood shed. Pinned to the ground by the 3 Qiutu, it kicked its legs ceaselessly, its rotting body, now reduced to nothing but bones and a few tattered internal organs, writhing violently. Its jaws gaped wide, trying to roar out. Fortunately, its throat had long since rotted away, otherwise it would already have drawn the attention of the entire undead army. Fang Chen said decisively, not being detected by the undead army is the best possible outcome. He grabbed Wu Manyue, while the 3 Qiutu hoisted the undead demonic beast onto their shoulders, and both groups immediately raced back the way they came at top speed. No sooner had they started moving than Fang Chen suddenly detected an extremely faint soul wave abruptly radiating out from the center of the undead army. He was shocked. There was no doubt their group's actions had been uncovered, and his heart stirred slightly with unease. The worst possible outcome had come to pass. That radiating soul wave was more like a detection probe. After sweeping past Fang Chen and his companions, it immediately locked onto them. Immediately after, a surge of soul power so terrifying it made Fang Chen's hair stand on end came crashing at them across the vast sky. Soul attack! Fang Chen drew a sharp breath. The demon clan priest could actually cast soul's secret techniques just like he could. He knew full well how fearsome this technique was and dared not take it head on. Without the slightest hesitation, he ordered one of the Qiutu to stand in front of himself and Wu Manyue. The next instant, the Qiutu's eyes rolled back. It did not even let out a pained groan before its soul was completely annihilated, dying on the spot. One of the black flags shattered explosively in response. Fortunately, Fang Chen had been prepared. He flicked his sleeve, dissipating the blast wave from the explosion. Even so, the explosion still left his arm covered in shallow cuts. A look of irritation crossed Fang Chen's face. Soul attack, is it? Then you can have a taste of mine in return. A tangible soul spike suddenly shot out from his forehead, stabbing fiercely towards the source of the enemy's soul attack. Faintly, the shrill, agonized scream of a young girl rang out, and the advancing undead army abruptly fell into chaos. Those in the back trampled those in front, while those in the front turned around to brawl with the ranks behind them. There was no need to say it. Fang Chen had successfully wounded the enemy's soul. Unfortunately, the enemy's soul was immensely powerful, and it seemed he had only wounded her, failing to completely erase this being suspected to be the priest. What just happened? Why is one of the Qiutu dead? Wu Manyue stared at the fallen Qiutu with a heartbroken look, her face full of grievance. She had no idea that a long, distance soul battle had just unfolded moments prior. A crafty glint flashed across Fang Chen's eyes as he handed her the remaining 2 small black flags, saying, "Senior Sister Wu, I thank you greatly for the aid of your ghost banners this time. Now that we have successfully captured the target, these should be returned to their rightful owner. I used the ghost banners to block an attack earlier, so the enemy must have sensed their aura. If they give chase, they will most likely follow the ghost banners trail, so this hot potato ought to go back to its original owner." Wu Manyue was greatly astonished, scarcely able to believe such a favorable turn of events could exist in this world. "You truly intend to return these to me?" Disbelief was written all over Wu Manyue's face. Fang Chen stuffed the 2 small black flags directly into her arms, saying, "My teacher taught me from childhood to uphold the conduct of a noble gentleman and reject the ambitions of petty villains. Today, for the great cause of the human race, I was forced to seize your formation flags against my teacher's teachings. How would I dare keep them for myself? I apologize profusely for my prior offense and hope you can forgive me." Wu Manyue's mouth fell open slightly in shock. This disciple of the 9 sects had been raised with such principles, and she could not help but feel a measure of admiration for Fang Chen's character. In the current martial cultivation world, such noble gentlemanly conduct was truly a rare and refreshing sight. The gaze with which she looked at Fang Chen softened imperceptibly. But that was the extent of it, she huffed inwardly. "The more gentlemen like you there are, the better. If everyone were as sharp and cunning as I am, how would anyone ever get the upper hand?" She accepted the 2 black flags, saying, "Very well, Senior Sister forgives you. We are both contributing to the safety of the human race, after all. Even if one was damaged, it was worth it." Her gaze shifted, and she spoke again. "You keep fending off pursuit for Senior Sister a while longer. When your spiritual power is depleted, I will take you with me. The return journey takes 2 full hours, and I must reserve my spiritual power for the final critical stretch." As for when Fang Chen's spiritual power ran out, he could wait for death for all she cared. Wu Manyue had no intention of looking out for him at all. But at that very moment, the horde of undead fell into chaos. An overwhelmingly powerful aura emanated from the center of the corpse army, accompanied by a sharp, furious shriek, "You seek death." The injured priest had flown into a rage. A streak of afterimages burst forth from the corpse army, charging straight for them to kill. Golden Core Realm 9th Layer. Wu Manyue's soul nearly left her body in terror. The demon clan powerhouse commanding the undead horde was actually a cultivator of this caliber. Fang Chen's expression shifted drastically, and he said, "Senior Sister Wu, let us split up and flee. I will take the undead corpse, don't worry about me, escape on your own." What, another such stroke of luck? The enemy would clearly lock onto the aura of the undead corpse to give chase. She agreed without the slightest hesitation. "Good, we will meet at Boundary Mountain." She no longer hid her strength and summoned a magical artifact, a small boat-like vessel. She leaped onto it, infused it with spiritual power to activate it, and the small boat immediately skimmed across the snow at high speed, its pace no slower than Fang Chen's movement technique. "Oh!" She turned her head, a sly smile on her face. "Senior Sister forgot I had this magical artifact. You mustn't blame me for hiding it from you. Right, I didn't mean to keep it a secret." Fang Chen thought to himself that he had known this woman was no simple character. He also unleashed his movement technique to catch up to her, running parallel to her as he said meaningfully, "I do not blame Senior Sister. I only hope Senior Sister will not blame me either." Wu Manyue was filled with suspicion. Had Fang Chen done something extremely harmful to her? She thought of the ghost banners, but when she had taken them earlier, she had already inspected them secretly and found no tampering whatsoever. "What do you mean?" she asked, her mind filled with unease. Fang Chen smiled faintly. "It means senior sister ought to watch her back." Wu Manyue frowned, thinking carefully. She should not have revealed any flaw that Fang Chen could exploit. Playing mysterious, she muttered under her breath before steering the small boat to race across the snow. Compared to movement techniques, the small boat consumed far more spiritual power, but she was at the Golden Core Realm 5th layer. Her spiritual power reserves several times that of Fang Chen. She could easily activate the boat for the entire journey back to Boundary Mountain without running out of power. As for Fang Chen, he had replenished his spiritual power twice already on the journey. In roughly an hour, he would be forced to stop and rest when his spiritual power ran dry. At that point, the Demon Clan powerhouse would naturally set their sights on him, and Wu Manyue would be able to take the opportunity to escape. However, what sent her heart lurching in fear was that the aura behind them was closing in rapidly. That Golden Core 9th layer Demon Clan powerhouse was actually faster than both their movement techniques and the spirit boat. Fang Chen said in a deep voice, "What are you waiting for? Send the ghost banners to hold off the rear." How could Wu Manyue bear to waste them? Her own combat strength was not high, and she relied entirely on the 3 Golden Core 5th layer ghost banners to fight enemies alongside her, which allowed her to remain undefeated against opponents of the same realm. One had already been destroyed. How could she afford to lose another? She glanced at the corpse strapped to Fang Chen's back, a clever glint flashing in her beautiful eyes as she said, "Why don't we split up and flee? Life and death are fated. Let us see who the Demon Clan powerhouse chases." Fang Chen agreed without hesitation. "Fine, I will continue along the original path. Do as you see fit." Wu Manyue was overjoyed in her heart. How could Fang Chen be so foolish at a critical moment? Would that Demon Clan powerhouse chase after you, following the aura of the Death Corpse, or chase after me? "Very well, take care, junior brother." She bade him farewell hypocritically before steering the boat toward the right path at the upcoming fork in the road. Fang Chen breathed a quiet sigh of relief, murmuring softly, "You were the one who chose to split up. Don't blame me for what comes next." As soon as he finished speaking, he tossed the heavy demon beast corpse into his heavenly thunderstone storage. With no more burdens weighing him down, his movement technique surged abruptly in speed as he fled down a different path. After fleeing for half a shichen, Wu Manyue's expression turned grim. What is the meaning of this? Why is this powerful demon race expert pursuing me? She could not fathom the logic at all. This made no sense. Fang Chen was the one who had stolen the corpse, a blatant act of military espionage. There was no reason for the demon race powerhouse to leave Fang Chen unmolested and chase after her, a trivial, irrelevant nobody. "You still dare to run?" A cold feminine snort sounded from behind her. Wu Manyue turned to look and sucked in a sharp breath of cold air. 100 Jiang Long 9, headed giant python, was barreling straight towards her, kicking up heaven, shaking clouds of snow in its wake. The giant python's scales were as lustrous as jade, with not a single trace of rot upon them. Its eyes were dim, for it was already dead, yet the residual aura rolling off its corpse still made one's scalp tingle with primal dread. Wu Manyue had never felt such a formidable aura, even from the 4 Vice Pavilion Masters. Its power hovered right between the peak of the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm and the nascent Soul Realm. This 9-headed giant python was highly likely the corpse of a demon emperor. Wu Manyue sucked in another cold breath, her scalp numb with terror as she urged her flying boat to flee at full, desperate speed. Seeing the python on the verge of catching up, she ground her teeth, and with a sharp stab of pain at the loss, activated a puppet to stay behind and stall the enemy for as long as it possibly could. Yet in a single exchange, that 5th layer Golden Core puppet was instantly crushed into a fine mist of blood by the 9-headed giant python, without even the slightest chance to resist. The command flag in Wu Manyue's hand shattered into fragments on the spot. "It really is you." Standing on the back of the 9-headed giant python was an 18-year-old girl, her face twisted with unbridled rage. She wore a vivid, multicolored gown embroidered with layers of ancient runes. Her jet-black hair was tied into an elegant lady's braid with a bow carved from white bone, and a delicate necklace strung with polished crystal bone shards hung around her snow-white neck. She had a classic oval face, almond eyes, vermilion lips, and a high, delicate nose. Her gaze was sharp and imposing, and she bore the soft, gentle beauty of a maiden from the southern riverlands. For a split second, Wu Manyue almost thought she was human, but a moment later, her hair stood on end in horror. The more closely a demon race member resembled a human, the more terrifyingly powerful they were. "Senior, why do you pursue me so relentlessly?" Wu Manyue begged as she continued to flee. "I came here by accident with my companion. I beg you to show mercy and spare my insignificant life." The beautiful girl's pretty face was frozen cold. Waves of piercing, searing pain from her soul made her gaze icy to the very bone. "Show mercy? You are so skilled at soul attacks, are you not? Why not strike me with another one?" the beautiful girl retorted coldly. One of the 9-headed python's heads lifted to shield her in front. She had been left with deep psychological trauma from the earlier soul attack and had no desire to suffer a second blow. Wu Manyue froze for a moment, dumbfounded. "Soul attack? Senior, you must be mistaken. I know no such miraculous soul secret techniques." The beautiful girl sneered, revealing a row of pearly white teeth. "Stop playing dumb. Tell me, are these puppets yours?" Wu Manyue hesitated for a moment, wanting to deny it, but she had just activated one to stall for time earlier, so there was no way to lie. She stammered, They are mine." Killing intent flashed in the beautiful girl's eyes. "Then that settles it. Earlier, when we exchanged soul attacks across the distance, you manipulated that puppet to block my soul strike. Who else could have wounded me but you?" What the hell? Wu Manyue understood everything in an instant. She realized why her puppet had died so abruptly, and why Fang Chen had suddenly been so generous as to return the remaining 2 puppets to her. That bastard Fang Chen had known he had caused a huge disaster, and that the puppet's aura would lead the enemy to pursue its owner. He had diverted the calamity onto her, returning all the puppets while spouting nonsense that his master had taught him to be a righteous gentleman. Realizing she had fallen into a hideous trap, Wu Manyue's chest heaved with rage as she shrieked in utter despair, "Fang Chen, I will kill you." The beautiful girl frowned her delicate willow leaf eyebrows and snorted. "Stop putting on an act. Soul attacks are a forbidden, bane-like technique against my demon race. As the high priestess of my clan, I cannot allow you to live." Roar, the 9-headed giant python, immediately charged forward with a deafening howl. How terrifying was a strike from a demon emperor's corpse. Though it did not possess the world-destroying might of a nascent soul realm expert, it was far more than Wu Manyue could ever hope to resist. In the blink of an eye, the flying boat was sent flying. Wu Manyue coughed up a mouthful of blood and was thrown through the air like a wine-red butterfly. The giant python did not let up its assault. Its other head struck like lightning, aiming to smash her into a cloud of blood mist midair. Wu Manyue ground her teeth, and with immense pain at the loss, pulled out a tattered silver scroll. She tore it open, and a burst of silver light erupted, wrapping around her. The next instant, she vanished without a trace. A spatial scroll. The beautiful girl was shocked. She would never have imagined that this woman possessed a spatial scroll that had been lost since ancient times. This scroll was imbued with the power of space, capable of teleporting its user 100 li away. It was a life-saving divine treasure. "You think I will let you escape?" She carefully sensed the direction of the puppet's aura, then pointed a finger into the distance. Chase! The 9-headed giant python rumbled after her target at once. A short while later, she caught up to a demonic beast darting wildly through the mountain forests. It had been stabbed in the rear and was running madly in agony. Tied to its back were a black flag and the missing puppet. Flames flickered in the beautiful maiden's eyes. "Cunning human, damn it, I refuse to believe I cannot catch you." With a casual flick of her wrist, the puppet exploded instantly into a cloud of blood mist, while she raced furiously along the main road leading to Boundary Mountain. Who knows how much time passed, when the fleeing demonic beast suddenly crashed to the ground with a thunderous roar. A sharp blade pierced out from its insides, slicing open its belly, and a figure clad in wine-red robes, covered head to toe in sticky fluids and filth, crawled out of the corpse. Who else could it be but Wu Manyue? She cast a glance at the direction the 9-headed giant python had departed, then took out the unfurled silver scroll. Its glow was dim, all spatial power had vanished completely, and it had been reduced to a useless, discarded scroll. Her palm trembled, her eyes brimmed with heartache, as if her very chest was dripping with blood. This was the life-saving trump card she had hidden away all this time, unearthed alongside the array flag. In terms of value, it was far more precious than the array flag itself. She had kept it carefully stored away, intending to use it only if she encountered a catastrophic danger one day. If she never had need of it, she could also sell it for a high price to some senior cultivator, in exchange for enough cultivation, resources to last her a lifetime. Yet Fang Chen had schemed against her, making her waste it for nothing here. Fang Chen, if I do not avenge this grudge, I swear I shall renounce my humanity. Fang Chen, who was hurrying on his journey, suddenly sneezed without warning. Is Zia Keoj thinking of me? Fang Chen mumbled under his breath. After an hour of arduous trekking, he had already covered half the journey. In one more hour, he would be able to return to Boundary Mountain. Rumble, a wave of tremors, sounded from far away, approaching rapidly. Fang Chen narrowed his eyes, decisively tapped the ice and snow with the tip of his toe, and soared into the air, leaping atop a snow mound. He then draped on his turtle breath cloak, concealing all his spiritual power fluctuations and aura. As the sound grew louder and closer, Fang Chen could not help but constrict his pupils. It was actually a colossal 9-headed giant python. The evil spirit, which had been in seclusion, was jolted awake. Good heavens, even the Demon Emperor's corpse has been refined into a corpse puppet array. I really underestimated the Demon Clan's priests. Their mastery of corpse manipulation arts has already reached an impressive level. He could not help but grow anxious. Kid, you have to find a way to head to the Demon Clan's heartland as soon as possible. I fear if we arrive too late, that nascent soul corpse will be discovered by the Demon Clan priests and refined into a puppet too. That would ruin the corpse entirely, and even my borrowed corpse, resurrection, will become impossible. The agreement between Fang Chen and the evil spirit was that Fang Chen would assist the evil spirit in finding a suitable nascent soul corpse. Once the evil spirit left, the Black Mirror would belong entirely to Fang Chen. Of course, Fang Chen had never believed a word of this promise. As the 9-headed giant python drew near, Fang Chen finally noticed a soft, graceful maiden resembling a fair lady from the southern regions standing atop one of its heads. With her exquisite features and tall stature, she would be considered a beauty of 1 in 10,000, even among humans. Yet Fang Chen grew even more wary. The last Demon Clan member that bore such a close resemblance to a human was Liulai, the Demon Emperor's daughter. Now another existence that looked almost fully human had appeared. One did not need to think hard to know she was no ordinary figure. He held his breath and focused his mind, staying completely still. With the invisibility ability of the turtle breath cloak, evading her detection was completely effortless. Rumble, just as expected, the 9-headed giant python and the maiden standing atop its head noticed nothing and rumbled past him. The very instant they were about to pass each other, the giant python's tail suddenly struck out without warning, moving as fast as a bolt of thunder and lightning. By the time Fang Chen reacted, the serpent's tail was already right in front of him. His countenance shifted, and he decisively activated his movement technique to retreat backward, successfully avoiding the full frontal impact of the serpent's tail. But the sharp Kai wave generated by the tail still sent him flying, slamming him into an ice mountain. The turtle breath cloak was knocked off his body, revealing his form. A metallic, coppery taste rose in Fang Chen's throat. He caught the turtle breath cloak in one hand, a look of shock and confusion on his face. Rumble, the 9-headed giant python, had already turned around, its massive body coiled as it raised its 9 enormous heads high. The maiden standing atop the central head crossed her arms over her chest, looked down at him coldly, and spoke. How many of my Demon Clan's powerhouses have you killed to have accumulated such thick blood Kai on your body? I could smell it from 10 li away. It was blood Kai again. Back then, Jian Linyuan had also detected the invisible Fang Chen through his blood Kai, and even reminded Fang Chen to keep his killing karma in check, or he would sooner or later become a public enemy of the entire Demon Clan. Afterwards, Fang Chen had slain over 60 beast kings in the Duanshan Canyon, and nearly 100 demonic beasts of all sizes in Boundary Mountain. The demon blood Kai on his body had grown so thick that even the turtle breath cloak could no longer conceal it, only that it was invisible to the naked human eye. Fang Chen swallowed the coppery taste in his throat and replied, "Your nose is really quite sensitive. What a waste you weren't born a dog." The beautiful maiden's willow eyebrows lifted slightly, and she spoke coldly. "I have an important target to kill. I have no time to waste chattering with you. Eliminate him." The order was given. The 9-headed giant python opened its jaws and spewed out a cloud of black smoke, resembling both flame and poisonous miasma. Before it could even sweep over to him, Fang Chen already felt dizzy and weak all over. The evil spirit immediately warned, "Beware, that is Death Kai. If you so much as touch it, you will lose your life. Use your Thunder Path cultivation method at once. Death Kai is a type of yin evil energy, and Thunder Path arts are its natural bane." The moment he learned it was Death Kai, Fang Chen had already activated his Thunder Dragon Lightning Leg technique. He dove slightly, then struck out from a distance, and 2 Thunder Dragons instantly slammed into the oncoming Death Kai. It had to be said that Thunder Path arts truly were the bane of all evil entities. That dangerously vast wave of Death Kai was blasted into nothingness the moment the 2 Thunder Dragons pierced into it, leaving not a single trace behind. The residual thunder arcs splashed onto the giant python's body, making it shake violently. The maiden standing atop the python's head stumbled and fell to her knees in a rather disheveled state, a hint of shame and fury appearing on her previously cold, pretty face. I didn't expect you to be a disciple of the True Thunder sect. Very good. No wonder all of you dare to intrude into the demon clan's territory. Turns out you either cultivate soul secret techniques, or are disciples of the True Thunder sect. The young girl climbed to her feet, her face frosty with rage. Then I shall crush you first, then deal with that despicable bastard and stomp him into the dust. She began to treat the human youth of similar age before her with newfound regard. A mere low-ranking disciple actually commanded such a formidable thunder attribute cultivation method. It was truly astonishing. Fortunately, the corpse puppet she had brought was refined from the corpse of a demon emperor. If it had been a puppet refined from the corpse of a golden core realm cultivator, it would most likely have been unable to withstand his thunder attribute cultivation method. This man posed a considerable threat to her army of corpse puppets, and must be eliminated at all costs. Roar! All 9 heads of the colossal python let out a deafening, ferocious roar. Its terrifying 100 jang, long body dove straight towards Fang Chen at breakneck speed, so swift that he had no time to dodge. But he had no intention of fleeing either. The tiny wisp of thunder arc that had struck the 9-headed giant python earlier had already sent it convulsing violently. He wondered if this demon emperor corpse could hold up if he unleashed the 5 thunder-righteous heaven palm, which he had painstakingly mastered through cultivation. He had drained every last trace of thunder power from the sky thunderstone before finally succeeding in cultivating this palm technique. He had never gotten the chance to test its full might before, and now the perfect opportunity had presented itself. He took a deep breath, circulating his spiritual power through both palms. The formidable thunder energy stored within his body roiled like boiling water, seeping out of his pores strand by strand and converging before his chest. 2 wisps of thunder arc, then 3 in the blink of an eye. A mass of roiling thundercloud had condensed before Fang Chen's chest. Amidst sharp, crackling rumbles, the thundercloud emitted flickering, destructive thunder light that blotted out Fang Chen's face into obscurity and cast the entire surrounding world into alternating flashes of blinding light and impenetrable darkness. The evil spirit drew a sharp, cold breath. Where did you get this much thunder power? As a creature of darkness and evil, he sensed an enormous existential threat. If Fang Chen had used this level of thunder power against him when they first encountered each other, he would have been reduced to ash and scattered to the winds long ago. The young girl's face also paled drastically as she sensed the overwhelming threat, and she urged her puppet frantically, hurry. Stomp him to death right now. The power of this thundercloud was more than just twice as strong as his previous attack. By the time they realized the full extent of Fang Chen's threat, it was already far too late. Heaven! Fang Chen let out a low roar, slamming both palms forward. The roiling thundercloud brimming with destructive aura before his chest abruptly condensed into a 10-jang giant palm made of pure thunder, which blasted forward instantly as Fang Chen struck out. Scholars often use the phrase as swift as thunder to describe extreme speed, but true thunder power far outstrips any description they could write. In less than a fraction of an instant, as if it had teleported out of thin air, the giant thunder palm slammed heavily into the 9-headed giant python's chest. In the blink of an eye, a charred palm-shaped blood hole was blasted straight through the chest of the glossy, jade-like newly refined giant python, and large amounts of Kai black corpse blood gushed out of the wound in a torrential stream. But external injuries were the least of its woes. The thunder power flooded into its internal body, eradicating every last trace of Death Kai contained within. Death Kai was the core foundation for refining the corpse puppet formation. Once this Kai was eliminated, the spiritual connection between the 9-headed giant python and the young girl was severed immediately. Left without a controller, the 9-headed giant python crashed heavily to the ground. The young girl standing on its head paled in fright and hurriedly leaped off to avoid being crushed. Boom! As if a divine mountain had collapsed, the 9-headed giant python slammed into the ground, triggering a massive earthquake across the snow plain. For a moment, the earth trembled violently, and the entire ice field cracked and split apart. The young girl who had just leaped off was unexpectedly crushed beneath the massive weight of the 9-headed giant python, her life or death unknown. Hiss! The evil spirit drew another sharp, shocked breath. You actually hid such a heaven-shaking thunder attribute cultivation method. Even a corpse puppet refined from a demon emperor's corpse couldn't withstand a single strike of this power. Fang Chen himself was also shocked by the might of this strike. However, this was not the full power of the 5 thunder-righteous heaven palm. According to the cultivation method, if there were thunderclouds roiling in the sky, this palm technique could draw down heavenly tribulation thunder to annihilate enemies, and that power was truly apocalyptic, capable of destroying all things under the heavens.
He had no time to marvel at its might now, however.
Sensing the young girl's aura still intact, he raised an eyebrow and spoke sharply. There's no time to stand around chattering. We have to run right now. That girl is a golden core, 9th layer, demonic beast, a warlord, class existence on par with the blood flood dragon and sea enchantress.
Even the masters of the 9 great sects cannot stand against her, and only the powerful supreme elders have the strength to suppress her. Without a nascent soul jade talisman in my possession, I have no chance of holding my own against that level of foe. Fleeing while she is trapped is the only wise move we can make. With a sharp whooshing sound, he pushed his movement technique to its absolute limit, sprinting madly all the way towards the boundary mountain. Boom! He had barely run a short distance when he heard a deafening, mountain-shaking commotion behind him. Glancing back, Fang Chen's pupils constricted sharply. The mountain-sized 9-headed giant python was being slowly lifted aloft, and the frost-eyed young girl in colorful robes was hefting the entire massive corpse with both hands before flinging it with all her might straight towards Fang Chen. What kind of terrifying, inhuman strength! Fang Chen's blood ran cold. Not daring to hesitate for even a moment, he swiftly took out the 5-magnet origin mountain, controlled it with his soul power, and slammed it heavily towards the incoming 9-headed giant python. Corpse! One was a colossal corpse as large as a mountain, the other a genuine magical artifact mountain. The two collided violently in midair, letting out an earth-shattering, deafening explosion. However, the 5-magnet origin mountain emerged completely unscathed, while 3 of the 9-headed giant python's heads were shattered to pieces on impact, and the remaining heads were left bloodied and mangled beyond recognition. Fang Chen dared not linger for even a moment. He recalled the 5-magnet origin mountain to his side and continued to flee at top speed. Gazing at the 9-headed giant python whose skull had been smashed to pulp, the young maiden rushed over in haste. She found 3 of its heads were completely obliterated, while the rest suffered severe damage that was nearly irreparable. Her face turned icy cold in an instant as she stared fixedly in Fang Chen's direction, her voice frosty as glacial ice. "I will kill you." Whoosh! She stomped her feet and burst forth with inhuman, terrifying speed. Fortunately, Fang Chen was slightly faster, covering roughly 15 zhang per stride, while she relied purely on her physical physique to move at around 12 to 13 zhang per stride. The longer she chased, the more enraged she became. She had assumed killing a mere human would be as trivial as swatting an ant, who would have expected he would first unleash a lightning, attributed cultivation method, then strike with an even more formidable, bizarre small mountain. What drove her to madness most of all was that as a demonic beast at the 9th layer of Golden Core realm, she could not even catch up to him. How detestable! Gurgle, she let out a low growl, and a sound like boiling water rumbled from within her body. The blood and Kai power of her demon race was fully activated, and a pair of illusory dark red wings visibly sprouted from her back. With each flap, they lifted her body slightly off the ground, greatly reducing her weight and making her as light as a swallow. Her speed naturally skyrocketed, quickly reaching 20 zhang per stride. That actually works. Fang Chen's scalp tingled. The innate talents of demonic beasts were simply blatant cheating. Seeing the foe charging toward him with killing intent blazing in her eyes, Fang Chen gritted his teeth, and an illusory soul spike condensed once again between his eyebrows, stabbing out in blink of an eye. The young maiden had always taken Wu Manyue for the soul attacker, so how could she have guarded against Fang Chen? By the time she sensed something was amiss, the spike had already pierced straight into her soul. Being struck at such close range was worlds apart from taking a hit from a distance earlier. The searing agony in her soul threw her entire body's blood and Kai into chaos. Her wings vanished abruptly, and her high-speed running body lost all control, slamming to the ground and rolling several times in succession. She struggled to her feet, both shocked and furious. "You are the soul attacker." No wonder that woman claimed she knew nothing of this technique. It turns out the one who truly wields this art is boy before me. Fang Chen paid her no heed at all. Taking advantage of her soul injury, he flickered away several times, vanishing without a trace across the snowy plain. The young maiden ground her teeth in fury. "Bastard, you injured my soul twice, destroyed my most beloved 9-headed giant python, and you still dare to run." She forced down the piercing pain in her soul and gave chase at full speed. But her soul damage made it impossible for her to focus on moving, so her speed dropped drastically, remaining at only around 15 zhang per stride, matching Fang Chen's speed evenly. "Let's see how long you can keep this up." The young maiden clutched her throbbing, painfully aching head, and snarled hatefully. "You are a mere human at the 2nd layer of Golden Core realm. Can you sustain such massive spiritual power? Consumption. The moment your spiritual power runs dry will be the day you die."
When she spoke these words, her face was flushed with shame and fury. Who would believe that a proud demon race powerhouse at the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm, hunting down a tiny human disciple, would have to wait for his spiritual power to run out to kill him? If word got out, no one would believe it, right? But that was the cold, hard truth. The various methods this young human disciple had displayed just now, no one would believe they came from a low-ranked disciple if they had not experienced it firsthand. The more she thought about it, the firmer her resolve to kill him became. Half an hour later, the spiritual power of Fang Chen, who had been running at full speed this entire time, was finally exhausted. His movement technique slowed noticeably for a beat. The young maiden laughed coldly. "Why don't you keep running? Go on, weren't you so good at fleeing?" Her eyes blazed with unbridled rage. She had thought Fang Chen's spiritual power would run out very quickly. Who would have expected the chase to drag on for half an hour? The longer she chased, the angrier she grew. She had never encountered a young human disciple this difficult to kill. Thankfully, it was finally about to end. However, to the young maiden's utter shock, Fang Chen took out a medicinal pill and tossed it into his mouth. Then, under her stunned gaze, he returned to peak condition in an instant, his spiritual power surging abundantly as he once again increased his movement speed and continued fleeing. What is the meaning of this? The young maiden stared died in disbelief, before she roared in exasperation after a long moment. "You're cheating. How can you do that? I've never heard of any human elixir that can instantly replenish all spiritual power." Seeing Fang Chen running further and further away, and knowing that if she did not catch up soon, he would reach the foot of the boundary mountain, the young maiden gritted her teeth and took a pint resin sachet from her waist, inside which was sealed a golden blood droplet that emanated imposing spiritual pressure. Fang Chen was all too familiar with this sight, Demon Emperor Essence blood. The 6th layer Golden Core Realm, Juanjia warrior had swallowed one before, and his cultivation had directly risen by an entire realm, his strength increasing exponentially. Fang Chen's scalp tingled, and he snapped angrily. "You are a demon race priest, using Demon Emperor Essence blood to deal with a tiny human like me. Do you not feel ashamed?" The young maiden's face flushed red, and she stamped her foot in shame and rage. "I'll use it if I want. I will kill you today no matter what." She gritted her teeth immediately and swallowed this incredibly precious Demon Emperor Essence blood, her heart aching at the cost. Terror, stricken blood and Kai power immediately swept through her entire body like a surging flood. Her physique, speed, perception, and even her cultivation realm instantly rose by an entire level. With a sharp whoosh, she covered 30 zhang in a single stride. Seeing this, Fang Chen cursed furiously. "You have no shame. How did I run into someone with no sense of honor at all? A proud 9th layer Golden Core Realm cultivator chasing after me, and you even use Demon Emperor Essence blood. Is there no justice left? Is there no heavenly Tao to speak of?" The young maiden was so embarrassed she could barely stand it, her cold, pretty face blushing so bright it looked like it would bleed. She bit her red lip tightly and snapped in humiliation and fury. "Shut up. Don't you dare say that again. If you say it one more time, I will rip your mouth off first." Fang Chen was also seething with rage. "I'll say it as much as I want. Shameless. That demon race priest is shameless." Wah! The young maiden was so furious smoke almost poured out of her head. She kept glancing around nervously, terrified that someone would overhear. Her eyes burned with shame and rage. "You are dead. You are dead today. No one can save you, I swear it." The massive gap in their movement speed caused the distance between the two to shrink rapidly. Fang Chen was furious to the extreme, and he reached out with one hand to grab something. 5 flags of different colors were tossed out by him. The palm-sized flags grew in size as soon as they met the wind, instantly expanding into enormous flags, 5 zhang wide. The 5 flags formed a massive formation, trapping the oncoming young maiden inside it immediately. Illusion, defense, attack, flight restriction, spiritual power siphon. These 5 formation flags immediately activated their full effects, trapping the young maiden inside instantly. "This paltry formation dares to trap me." She threw a vicious punch at the empty air before her. *PFFT. The 5 formation flags, fragile as if made of paper, shattered on the spot. Taking advantage of this brief window of time, Fang Chen had only managed to pull a little distance between them again, nowhere near close enough to make his escape. Fang Chen watched, his heart aching fiercely. "You little brat, you'd better pray I don't get away. This grudge between us is settled." He had gone to great lengths to obtain these 5 colored formation flags from Fan Xingkong, and before he could even use them properly, they had been destroyed by the young girl. The young girl's eyes glinted with frigid light as she gnashed her teeth and sneered. "Rest easy. I have even used the Demon Emperor's blood. Do you think I would let you escape? Asterisk whoosh, asterisk, she activated her movement technique once more and came charging in pursuit. A moment later, the young girl finally caught up to Fang Chen. Overflowing with vicious excitement, she spoke in a bone-chilling tone, "It is time for you to meet your end." Leaping forward, she landed in front of Fang Chen, spun around, and struck out with a terrifying punch imbued with the full power of the ninth-layer Golden Core realm, aiming straight for his heart. No matter how many schemes and tricks Fang Chen had up his sleeve, they were all useless in the face of absolute power. She suddenly noticed that Fang Chen was holding a copper coin in his mouth. As her fist came hurtling toward him, Fang Chen decisively poured spiritual power into the coin. Immediately, an ancient bronze radiance erupted from the copper coin, condensing into a spherical copper coin light barrier that shielded him completely. Her fist slammed into the barrier, which shook violently but did not shatter. Instead, she was sent stumbling back repeatedly by the force of the rebound. It was actually a defensive magical artifact rated for the ninth-layer Golden Core realm. The young girl was nearly driven mad, screaming in frustration, "What is wrong with you? Why are you so impossible to kill?" Something was wrong. Was the person she was chasing really just a low-ranking disciple? Why did he feel far more difficult to deal with than those human elders? Guess Fang Chen's eyes also blazed with rage. The life-saving copper coin that Yu Yunzi had given him had just been used up, all because of this detestable little girl. As soon as the words left his mouth, a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. An ancient sword, emanating a frigid purple light, stabbed up from beneath the young girl's feet without any warning. The young girl's full attention had been fixed on Fang Chen and the barrier surrounding him. She never could have imagined that while Fang Chen had activated his life-saving copper coin, he had also buried the purple sword underground beforehand, preparing this unexpected fatal strike. The young girl's heart skipped a beat as an overwhelming sense of mortal danger rose in her chest. She jumped away without thinking, but the purple light beneath her feet actually chased after her out of thin air, quickly piercing through the sole of her foot and stabbing upward, as if intent on running her through entirely from bottom to top. Panicked out of her wits, the young girl decisively plucked a crystal from the necklace around her neck and crushed it. The crystal powder immediately coated her body, turning her flesh as hard as crystal. The purple sword that had already pierced her foot could not advance even a hair further. The young girl flew into a rage. "You cheat." Before her voice even faded, dark clouds suddenly shrouded the sky above her head, and the five-magnet primordial mountain came crashing down violently toward her skull. Asterisk boom! Asterisk, the young girl's face paled drastically once more. Another one. She raised her hands in fury, trying to hold back the descending five-magnet primordial mountain, but the moment her palms touched it, she realized with horror the mountain's terrifying weight. Asterisk crack. Asterisk, her feet instantly sank into the ice below, and her entire body emitted creaking sounds as it strained under the burden. Even with her ninth-layer Golden Core realm cultivation, she could not withstand the mountain's weight. Even more horrifying to her, under the suppression of the five-magnet primordial mountain, the crystal coating on her body peeled off entirely, exposing her mortal flesh and blood. Fang Chen, sharp-eyed, seized the opportunity. He let out a low shout, and the purple sword transformed into a blinding streak of light that pierced through her body in an instant. A bloody hole was pierced through the young girl's abdomen, and she let out a shrill, agonized scream. The power of her Kai and blood surged to a boiling point, and she actually managed to heave the five-magnet primordial mountain up by sheer force. Fang Chen's eyelids twitched violently. This brute was way too ferocious. Seeing that she was about to break free, Fang Chen did not dare to linger for a moment longer. He decisively activated his movement technique, but before fleeing, he glanced at the necklace around her neck, flashed forward, tore it off in one motion, and stuffed it into his bosom. He had already lost his 5 colored formation flags and a life-saving copper coin while being chased by this woman. He deserved to recoup some of his losses after all. "Put that down right now," the young girl shrieked in a panic. She lifted her foot, trying to kick Fang Chen flying, but he dodged out of the way in time. He had also intended to take the butterfly hairpin from her head, which was almost certainly another precious treasure, but the girl was on the verge of breaking free, leaving Fang Chen no time to act. He immediately activated his movement technique and fled at top speed. Only when he was 100 zhang away did he unleash a long-range strike, using his sole power to retrieve the five-magnetic primordial mountain. The moment the girl broke free, she ignored the wound on her abdomen and leaped up to give chase to Fang Chen, but no sooner had she moved than she collapsed heavily to the ground with a thud. It turned out a bloody hole had been pierced through the sole of her foot, making even walking difficult, let alone sprinting at full speed. She also suffered a severe piercing wound to her abdomen. While such an injury was not fatal to a demon clan member, it drastically impaired her mobility. For at least half a day, until her wounds healed, she stood no chance of catching up to Fang Chen, who had already vanished without a trace. Bastard! The enraged girl slammed her fist into the snow plane, triggering a series of earthquakes that sent ice and snow flying in all directions. Her eyes blazing red, she stared fixatedly in the direction Fang Chen had fled, gritting her teeth so hard they were on the verge of shattering. This venture had ended in catastrophic losses for her. Aside from taking 2 successive soul attacks, her beloved 9-headed giant python had sustained severe damage, and she had wasted her only drop of Demon Emperor's essence blood. In the end, not only had she failed to kill that human brat, but she had also fallen for his trick and suffered 2 grievous wounds. Worst of all, he had stolen her necklace. That necklace was the supreme treasure of the priest lineage. Who would believe that a cultivator at the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm was hunting a mere human disciple at the 2nd layer of Golden Core Realm, only to end up in such a humiliating state? Her rage mounted with each passing thought, until she finally could hold it no longer and spat out a cloud of blood mist. Human, she gnashed her blood-stained teeth fiercely. I will make you pay 100-fold for this. With that, killing intent oozing from every pore, she removed the butterfly hairpin from her hair and blew gently into the small hole on its surface. A deep, resonant sound, like the blare of a war horn, rang out. Woo woo woo. Hundreds of lie away, the army of corpse puppets that had been advancing slowly in perfect unison, all lifted their heads at once. As if answering a sacred summons, they broke into a rapid, heavy march toward the source of the sound. As far as the eye could see, the entire snow plain was filled with the surging tide of the corpse army, their numbers exceeding 10,000. After escaping danger, Fang Chen pushed on without rest. Half an hour later, he finally reached the foot of Boundary Mountain. When he spotted Lai Qingfeng standing on the slope, frowning as he gazed into the distance, the tight knot in his chest finally loosened. He had cheated death, and narrowly survived this harrowing ordeal. Glancing around quickly, he took advantage of the fact that Lai Qingfeng had not yet noticed him to quietly retrieve the living corpse puppet from the heavenly thunderstone and bury it beneath an ice mountain. Only then did he hurry toward Boundary Mountain. Fang Chen, when Lai Qingfeng spotted Fang Chen returning from afar, he immediately stepped forward to greet him. You reckless boy, how dare you trespass into Demon Clan territory alone? If anything had happened to you, how would I answer to the sect master and the grand elders? Ever since he learned that Fang Chen and Wu Manyue had gone to the Demon Clan territory, he had been racked with anxiety, standing guard at this spot the entire time. If Fang Chen had not returned any later, he had planned to venture into the snow plain to search for him. Grand Elders, Fang Chen was confused. The only 2 Grand Elders of Qingyun's sect he had ever met were Zhuang Yunian from the Sect Master Peak and Shi Kaishan from Heavenly Sword Peak. Why would they care about a lowly disciple like him? He had no time to dwell on the matter. Fang Chen said, Elder Lai, please immediately gather all the personnel guarding Boundary Mountain and the Great Wall. I have urgent news to inform them of. Lai Qingfeng was surprised, but seeing the grave expression on Fang Chen's face, he replied, They are already gathering. Come with me. Already gathering? Full of confusion, Fang Chen arrived at the summit of Boundary Mountain, where he saw a dense crowd of over 200 people. Aside from Golden Core Realm disciples, there were also many disciples at the 7th and 8th layers of Foundation Establishment Realm. In addition, there were many elders with powerful auras present, including several from Qingyun sect. Elder Wen, Elder Zhao. Fang Chen spotted the 2 familiar elders at a glance. When Hongyao and Zhao Wuji turned to look over when they heard the commotion, their faces lighting up with joy. Fang boy, I was wondering where you had gotten off to. When Hongyao hurried over, pinched Fang Chen's cheek, and scolded him with a laugh, You little rascal. You kept such a low profile that no one knew you would end up taking first place on the merit rankings. Zhao Wuji also wore a glowing, proud expression, patting Fang Chen on the shoulder as he said, When the news reached the sect, no one could believe it. Everyone was wondering how you managed to claim the top spot. I knew you were special from the start, no mere fish trapped in a pond. Now that you've gotten your chance, you've soared to the heavens and made a name for yourself across all 9 sects. In the entire territory ruled by the 9 sects these days, there is no one who hasn't heard the name Fang Chen. Our entire sect is proud to claim you as one of our own. At that moment, 2 other Qingyun sect elders hurried over, greeted Fang Chen, then began introducing him to the elders of other sects with beaming, proud faces. Come, come, Elder Chen, this is Fang Chen, a disciple of our Qingyun sect. Old Huang, you don't have such an outstanding disciple in your Chanian sect, do you? As Fang Chen arrived, all eyes in the venue turned to him. Both the elders and the disciples who had just arrived at the front lines were intensely curious about this Fang Chen, who ranked first on the merit rankings. After all, the last time the name Fang Chen had circulated widely was half a year ago, when the Qingyun sect master took in a disciple with no spiritual roots. Back then, Fang Chen's reputation was far from positive. When Fang Chen's name was heard once more, he had already become a peerless top genius who overshadowed Xia Keoji and Jin Zhongming, dominating the first position on the merit list and looking down upon all heroes. The contrast between his past and present was so vast that it could truly be called the difference between heaven and abyss. Who could possibly not be curious? Junior brother Fang, Yilingxing, pushed through the throng of disciples, his eyes filled with joy as he ran forward, crying out in surprised delight. Fang Chen looked over, a hint of surprise crossing his face. You've broken through to the 9th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm. Congratulations. Yilingxing cupped his hands in salute. This is all thanks to your care, junior brother. It allowed junior sister Qin, junior sister Chu, and I the qualification to select the precious resources of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. It is all by your fortune that I have broken through to the 9th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm. The surrounding elders exchanged glances. They had long heard of the matter where 3 low-level Foundation Establishment disciples had appeared out of nowhere, overpowering veteran geniuses like Zhu Wanchong to seize 3 of the top 10 spots on the merit list. It was said that Fang Chen had led them to complete a heaven raid mission to earn such a ranking, and now it seemed the rumors were true. I am choosing Meng's master. A female elder from the Supreme Sect walked over with a warm smile on her face. I have always known Xing. Meng was a child blessed with good fortune, and it seems my judgment was correct. On her first outward training experience, she met a noble patron who guided her all the way. Thanks to you, she has broken through to the 6th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm, making her the fastest cultivator among all the new disciples. I thank you on Xing, Meng's behalf. A small greeting gift, take it. She handed Fang Chen a hive. Al, you spirit ginseng. Seeing this, Qiu Shengnan, Qin Kei's master, also hurried over, her face brimming with fondness. Little fellow, you have taken such good care of Kei. With the help of the resources from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's treasure vault, she has broken through to the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm and will arrive at the front line soon. When she comes, I will have her thank you properly. Yilingxing's master did not come this time, but an elder from the Spirit Beast sect who was present also stepped forward to express his gratitude. Fang Chen cupped his hands in salute. 3 seniors are too polite. I share a good affinity with the 3 senior and junior sisters, so lending them a hand was just a small matter, nothing worth mentioning. This left all the disciples present completely speechless. A casual hand had landed the 3 of them in the top 10 positions of the merit list, allowed them to exchange for rare resources not even available in the 9 sects, and made all of them achieve major cultivation breakthroughs. If you were to help them with full effort, would the 3 of them not ascend to the heavens? Seeing how popular Fang Chen was, the smiles on the faces of Lai Qingfeng and the other 2 never faded, and their backs unconsciously straightened with pride. Brat, when we return to the sect, I will definitely gather all the sect's disciples and have them learn from your example. Lai Qingfeng said with a laugh. Fang Chen smiled, then asked curiously, why have so many elders and disciples suddenly rushed to the front line? Could they have long known the news of the corpse army's invasion? If that is the case, then my trip was for nothing. I almost lost my life at the hands of the demon race priest. Lai Qingfeng said, wasn't the defense line breached last time? The Heavenly Secrets Pavilion feared the war would expand beyond what the disciples could withstand, so they urgently mobilized half of the elders from each sect, as well as all disciples with cultivation above the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm, to rush to the front line. In addition, the sect master of the True Thunder sect has also personally come to garrison the Boundary Mountain. Hearing this, Fang Chen was overjoyed. The reinforcements had arrived at the perfect time. With over 30 elders and more than 200 disciples above the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm, they might not even need to evacuate the front line. Though the corpse army was vast, as they were transformed corpses, their strength was only 1/10 of what they had in life. The strongest 9-headed giant serpent was at nascent soul realm when alive, but after transformation, it was far from nascent soul strength. The rest of the dead were even weaker. A 9th layer golden core realm cultivator would be lucky to have 4th layer golden core strength after transformation, while the rest only had strength equivalent to around the 5th or 6th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm after transformation. In addition, the human side was backed by the 10,000 Lai City Wall, garrisoned at Boundary Mountain, waiting for the enemy to attack while holding a defensive position. If a full battle broke out, there was still a real chance they could fend off the Corpse Army. Just as Fang Chen was about to speak of the Corpse Army, a sudden thunderous roar rang out, as a bolt of lightning seemed to descend from the 9 heavens, slamming violently down between the crowd. The explosive thunderclap shook the disciples with lower cultivation until their kai and blood roiled. The elders surrounding the area where the lightning struck were all shaken back repeatedly. Everyone looked over in shock, only to see a towering, majestic figure, bathed in bluish-white thunder, standing at the spot where the lightning had landed. Across all 9 sects, the only person who could control thunder and make an entrance in such a domineering fashion could be one person, Lei Zhenhai, the sect master of the True Thunder sect. Everyone was stunned by this terrifying entrance, and Fang Chen was also greatly shocked. Had he just transformed into a bolt of thunder and descended from the sky? Was this a thunder path cultivation method or a movement technique? How could it be so strange and unfathomable? Lai Qingfeng's face changed slightly, and he whispered in surprise, "Could Sect Master Lei have already fully comprehended the cultivation method on that thunder evolution token?" The astonishing thunder light covering Lei Zhenhai's body gradually dissipated into the air, revealing his true appearance. He was a 7-foot-tall golden-robed middle-aged man with a sharp face. Long eyebrows, a high nose bridge, thin lips, and gloomy, cold eyes, giving off a harsh, unapproachable aura. Hearing Lai Qingfeng's words, his face carried a distinct air of majesty as he said, "Do I need to report what cultivation method this sect practices to you?" Lai Qingfeng's expression turned solemn, and he hurriedly said, "This subordinate would not dare." Lei Zhenhai put his hands behind his back, exuding awe-inspiring dignity even without anger, and said, "By order of Vice Pavilion Master Yi, I shall temporarily take command of the Boundary Mountain battlefield. All sect elders and disciples present shall follow my unified arrangements." Everyone fell silent and respectful. Though Lei Zhenhai's domineering attitude made them somewhat uncomfortable, given the current critical situation, the cultivators on Boundary Mountain must have a powerful, outstanding strongman to command them uniformly. If they fought separately, they would easily be defeated one by one when the powerful enemy attacked. Now listen to my orders, elders and disciples of the 4 sects: True Thunder sect, Supreme sect, Myriad Sword sect, and Giant sect shall garrison Boundary Mountain. Elders and disciples of the Spirit Beast sect and the Joyous Union sect shall patrol the left city wall of Boundary Mountain and be ready to reinforce Boundary Mountain at any time. The Thousand Forging sect, Heavenly Sound sect, and Azure Cloud sect shall patrol the right city wall of Boundary Mountain and stand ready for reinforcement at all times. Execute these orders immediately." Hardly had the words faded when the disciples assigned to patrol the Great Wall frowned in unison. The Great Wall rose 100 zhang high, blanketed in ice and snow, its surface so smooth that it was nearly unscalable. Thus, demonic beasts primarily focused their attacks on the Boundary Mountain, and barely any ever attempted to climb the Great Wall on either flank. Patrolling the Great Wall would strip them of all opportunities to slay demonic beasts, while disciples from the True Thunder sect and the 3 upper sects would be able to seize the first chance. It merits. The elders of the 5 sects also immediately caught on to the problem. This was a blatant move to cut off the source of merits for their disciples. Before they could voice their objections, Lei Zhenhai cast a frigid glare their way. "You have objections? Then keep your mouths shut regardless. This sect master is notifying you, not negotiating with you. Carry out the order at once." The elders of the 5 sects dared to feel anger, but not speak it out. Since Lei Zhenhai held the official appointment from Yi Kangyuan, how dared they defy him? They could only swallow their bitter resentment and turn to comfort their own disciples. "Bear with it for a few days first. Sect masters from various factions will arrive here soon, and by then Vice Pavilion Master, you will personally take over command." The disciples were filled with grievance, who knew how many days that would take. It was entirely possible that Yi Kangyuan would not take over command even after the month ended. Would they be forced to remain suppressed this entire time? Fang Chen frowned deeply. This Thunder Sect Master could hardly be called impartial by any stretch of the imagination, but this was no time to squabble over credit. He cupped his fists in salute and said, "Sect Master Lei, this junior has urgent military intelligence to report." Lei Zhenhai lifted his eyes and glanced at him casually, speaking indifferently. "You are that disciple named Fang Chen, are you not? Rather clever to think of using military intelligence as an excuse to resist my arrangement when you are dissatisfied." Are you not going to say that a horde of demonic beasts is incoming, and that I should proceed with caution, or something of the sort? Everyone present had been startled by Fang Chen's words, truly believing he had urgent military intelligence, but they relaxed the moment they heard Lei Zhenghai's remark. They could not help but admit Fang Chen was quick-witted to think of a roundabout way to voice his discontent. Fang Chen frowned and said in a deep voice, "This junior would never dare spout nonsense. There is indeed a horde of demonic beasts approaching, located 400 li away at present. They will arrive in as little as 4 hours, or at most 1 day." "Heh heh heh, Lei Zheng, I wore an expression that said just as I expected. What a coincidence. I just spoke of incoming demonic beasts, and now there really are demonic beasts coming." Fang Chen cupped his fists again. The military situation is critical. This junior would not dare hide anything. He secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he had penetrated deep into enemy territory and captured a living corpse alive. Given Lei Zhenghai's arrogant, conceited personality, he would never believe Fang Chen no matter how much he argued, and would even charge him with the crime of disrupting military morale. "Obstinate fool, Lei Zhenghai roared coldly. A lowly disciple dares to run his mouth over major military affairs. You are trying to challenge my authority and shake the morale of the army, are you not?" Fang Chen sneered inwardly. His guess had been spot on. What kind of man was this? He dropped all pretense of politeness and said, "Do not be so hasty to pin the label of disrupting military morale on me, Sect Master Lei. Look at the evidence I brought back first before you judge." With a single flash of his figure, he turned and headed for the foot of the boundary mountain to fetch the living corpse he had left there. Lei Zhenghai's face turned dark. At this point, he naturally realized that Fang Chen was most likely not lying. Why else would he dare to present evidence for a public confrontation? That would be nothing short of slapping him in the face. He had just issued his arrangement orders with a grand wave of his hand, brooking no argument, and now Fang Chen had revealed urgent military intelligence that would force him to reverse his decision. If he changed his orders so frequently, where would his dignity as commanding officer go? "Evidence is it?" Lei Zhenghai snorted coldly in his heart. "It's nothing more than a single captured demonic beast used as proof." "But there are thousands upon thousands of demonic beasts in the demon territory. How can you prove this one is part of the demonic beast army?" "I will not change my orders. Once the commotion dies down, I can adjust them later if needed." Having made up his mind, Lei Zhenghai resumed his indifferent expression. No matter what kind of demonic beast Fang Chen produced later, he would refuse to acknowledge it as valid evidence, and would even charge Fang Chen with the crime of disrupting military morale. Killing the chicken to warn the monkeys, so that all elders and disciples would see the fate of those who dared question his authority. Before long, Fang Chen returned carrying a demonic beast as large as an elephant over his shoulder. It was covered in a layer of black cloth, and the visible struggles made it clear that the thing inside was alive. Lei Zhenghai frowned and said, "Why is it covered with cloth? Is there something unsightly about it?" Fang Chen glanced around at all the elders and disciples present, saying, "Please prepare yourselves mentally. No matter what you see in a moment, do not panic." The corpse army had not appeared for countless ages, and Fang Chen was worried that revealing it abruptly would cause chaos, so he had covered it with a cloth to give everyone present a heads up first. This act roused the curiosity of everyone present, especially the group of elders. The great elder of the Heavenly Sound sect, Ming Yulian, was also among those gathered. She still held a deep grudge against Fang Chen. Seeing this, she said coldly, "This is a pointless addition. We elders have seen every kind of storm and upheaval. How could a mere demonic beast possibly frighten us?" Lai King Feng's mouth twitched, and he chided in a low voice. "Stop being so needlessly mysterious, really. If you say the appearance of this demonic beast could startle inexperienced disciples, that is plausible, but frightening elders." "What a joke." Fang Chen did not say anything further. He ripped off the black cloth in one motion and said, "This is the demonic beast army I discovered in the demon territory. I ask that Sect Master Lei and all elders make a ruling on this matter." Lei Zhenghai scoffed, and before he even looked at the demonic beast, he said majestically, "You call this evidence?" But hardly had his voice faded when the disciples around him let out terrified screams and scrambled back in panic. Even the elders all paled in unison. Those with exceptional willpower managed to stay standing where they were, while those with weaker resolve also retreated in panic alongside the disciples. Lei Zhenghai was stunned. What was going on? It was just a single demonic beast. How could it even frighten the elders? When his gaze fell on the demonic beast in front of Fang Chen, his own heart skipped a beat and his pupils constricted violently. What is this? It was a small demonic beast the size of an elephant, reeking of rot. Its entire body was decaying, and its fur had long since rotted away almost entirely. Its bloody skeleton was exposed, with a few tattered pieces of internal organs hanging stickily from its bones, ready to fall off at any moment. This was clearly the corpse of a demonic beast that had been dead for a very long time. Most eerie of all, it was still alive, thrashing and struggling desperately. Ming Yulian's eyes flew wide open as she scrambled backward, knocking over several disciples, and cried out in horror, "What in the world is this?" The two male elders, Lai Qingfeng and Zhao Wuji, were also greatly alarmed, their expressions shifting violently as they asked Fang Chen, "What is this thing? Is it a lifeless object or a living creature?" Fang Chen cupped his hands in salute and answered, "It is a corpse puppet." While many disciples were still confused, all the elders' faces changed drastically in unison, and one elder cried out in terror, "These are the corpse puppets from the primeval era." When Hong Yao stared at the corpse puppet with immense wariness and said, "Fang Chen, how many of these have you discovered? If their numbers are small, we elders will immediately take the initiative to strike and eradicate this threat once and for all." The rest of the elders came to their senses, every single one wearing an expression of dread. No one knew how powerful these fiendish things were, and it would be best to strike first and root them out completely. Fang Chen shook his head, took a deep breath, and said, "Relying only on the elders will be far from sufficient. There are not just a few or a few dozen corpse puppets, but an entire army of dead, their numbers boundless and innumerable." Hiss, no one knew who drew a sharp, terrified breath first, but fear spread like a plague. Terror appeared on the faces of nearly every disciple, and even among the elders, dread began to creep through their ranks at the sight of these undying, indestructible fiends. One elder cried out in shock, "An army of the dead. Could it be that the Demon Clan priests have made their move? Demon Clan priests only appear when the Demon Clan faces total annihilation. Demon Clan intends to wage a decisive battle against us. Can we possibly hold them off on our own?" Some elders were the first to get cold feet, while even more turned their gazes to Lei Zhenhai. As the commander, he had to make the final decision, stand and fight or retreat. Lei Zhenhai swallowed hard. Even he felt a flicker of fear in his heart. If they resisted on their own, it would surely be a brutal battle with no guarantee of survival. Seeing that he was delaying making a decision, Lai Qingfeng's heart sank silently. He feared that Lei Zhenhai had also been too terrified to choose to fight. Lai Qingfeng took it upon himself to issue orders. "Fang Chen, first give a detailed report on the intelligence you have gathered." All the elders and disciples turned their gazes over as well, agreeing that they should first clarify the exact situation of the undead army before making any moves. Fang Chen nodded and said, "Based on what I have scouted, the exact size of the undead army is unknown, but it is at minimum over 10,000 strong. Their commander is indeed, as you all guessed, a Demon Clan priest. She appears to be an 18-year-old girl with cultivation at the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm. She has a mount transformed from the corpse of a 9-headed serpent at nascent soul realm, whose strength lies between perfected 9th layer, Golden Core, and Demon Emperor level." Over 10,000. The crowd felt their breath catch, overwhelming despair rising in their hearts. At most, they numbered barely 200 people. How could they possibly stand against over 10,000 undead? When they learned the Demon Clan priest was at the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm, their despair deepened further. The strongest among them was none other than Lei Zhenhai, who was only at the 8th layer of Golden Core Realm. When they heard there was also a corpse puppet transformed from a nascent soul realm serpent, the crowd was plunged into total despair. Ming Yulian clutched her head, her eyes glazed over. "It's over. There's no point in fighting this battle. Unless we mobilize all cultivators from the 9 sects, we don't stand the slightest chance of victory." Lei Zhenhai staggered slightly. He had finally secured the position of commander of Boundary Mountain from Yi Kengyuan thanks to the slight connection between his True Thunder sect and the man, so that he could secure benefits the disciples of True Thunder sect and even gain fame and fortune for himself. Who would have thought he would encounter an undead army that only appeared in the primeval era? What rotten luck! He looked at Fang Chen unwillingly and questioned, "Are you certain everything you have said is true? How do you know that Demon Clan priest is at the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm? You even know her appearance. Could it be that you have seen her in person?" This question made many elders come to their senses. That was right. How had Fang Chen obtained such detailed information about the Demon Clan priest? "I have done more than just see her." Fang Chen pointed at the corpse puppet on the ground and said, "When I was capturing this one to bring back, I was discovered by the Demon Clan priest. She chased me all the way to the foot of Boundary Mountain, and I barely escaped with my life." What? Not just the disciples. Even the elders were utterly stunned. Lei Zhen, I questioned even more sharply. Are you claiming that you escaped the pursuit of a ninth layer, Golden Core Demon Clan priest? How is that possible? None of the elders present could manage that, even as a sect master with numerous life-saving means. I cannot guarantee I would survive such a chase. How could a lowly disciple like you, Fang Chen, escape unscathed after being discovered? Fang Chen said nothing more and took out an exquisite necklace strung with crystal bones. Wen Hongyao recognized it at a glance and cried out in shock. That is the jade bone necklace, a heritage treasure passed down through the Demon Clan priest lineage. Fang Chen, you really were chased by the Demon Clan priest. Not only did you escape alive, you even stole her heritage treasure. The crowd erupted into an uproar at once, and every gaze fixed on Fang Chen was as if they were staring at a monster. Fang Chen smiled bitterly. Don't mention it. I suffered heavy losses as well. This necklace is merely small compensation for what I lost. The corner of Wen Hongyao's mouth twitched, her eyes shining brightly as she stared at the jade bone necklace. You brat, don't act modest when you've hit the jackpot. Do you have any idea what the jade bone necklace is? Her words were cut off by Lei Zhenhai. His face turned grave as he said, if that is the case, I fear we will not be able to hold Boundary Mountain. As their commander had openly expressed such negative sentiment, the mood of the elders and disciples from all sects was understandably grim. The crowd fell into commotion, and some disciples were already packing their belongings, preparing to retreat first. They had not even fought yet, and already their morale was faltering. This was exactly what Fang Chen had feared most, so he immediately called out in a loud voice, "Everyone, please hear me out. While the size of our two forces is vastly unequal, we are by no means incapable of fighting back. These undead corpses may be strange and sinister, but their strength is not particularly formidable. Moreover, as unholy abominations, thunder, fire, and other such forces are their natural nemeses." Upon hearing this, the commotion faded slightly. Lei Zhenhai's expression grew unsightly. He had passed judgments time and again, only for this Fang Chen to constantly defy him and oppose his plans. How was he to preserve his dignity? How easy you make it sound, Lei Zhenhai scoffed. Even if we can barely deal with ordinary unholy creatures, who will handle that nine-headed giant python you spoke of? You or me, that thing was transformed from the corpse of a nascent soul realm cultivator. Just thinking about how terrifying its power is makes my scalp tingle. Fang Chen glanced at Lei Zhenhai with disappointment and retorted bluntly, if Sectmaster Lei lacks the confidence, I can take charge of that nine-headed giant python. I have already defeated it once. After all, there is no reason I cannot defeat it a second time. What? The entire field fell silent for a moment. Everyone present doubted their own ears. Fang Chen had defeated that corpse puppet transformed from a nascent soul realm corpse. Lei Zhenhai's expression froze, then he sharply rebuked, you, a mere low-ranking disciple. Fang Chen replied calmly, this junior has already stated that objects of pure yang nature can subdue evil spirits. This junior simply happens to have some means that can suppress it, that is all. The elders, who had been drowning in despair, could not help but steady their hearts once more. If a mere young disciple could handle a corpse puppet forged from the body of a demon emperor, there was no reason that they, as his seniors, would be helpless against these fiends, was there? Lai Qingfeng stared at the small demonic beast flailing on the ground, and casually tossed a foundation, establishment realm, first to second layer fire talisman at it. This low-grade fire talisman was originally unremarkable, with barely any power to speak of, but the moment it ignited, the small demonic beast immediately began to shriek in agony. Great amounts of death Kai visibly evaporated from its body, and in the blink of an eye, it was reduced to a pile of white bones, motionless. Exclamations rose from the ranks of the disciples. Liang Feiyan stared in astonishment and said, they are this weak. A random fire talisman can kill them. Fu Keijun also let out a small sigh of relief. I thought these unholy creatures would be far more formidable. Who would have thought they are so fragile when confronted with their natural counter? Xia Keoj spoke up. Even though this is only a small demonic beast, after being transformed, it has at least the strength of Foundation Establishment Realm 5th to 6th layer. If they can be subdued this easily, so long as we have sufficient countermeasures, we have no reason to fear even those high-grade corpse puppets. For a moment the crowd that had been consumed by despair regained their morale. All turned their gazes to Lei Zhenhai, asking their sect master to make the final decision. Lei Zhenhai still was not eager to fight. Aside from the nine-headed giant python, there was also a demonic priest at the 9th layer of Golden Core Realm among their enemies. If she made a move, who would be able to stand against her? However, it was clear that they had the strength to fight. If he, as the commander, ordered the army to retreat, when the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion called them to account for their actions, even Yi Kangyuan would not be able to escape blame, let alone Lei Zhenhai. He would most certainly be publicly beheaded by the Heavenly Thunder sect as a warning to others to uphold the sect's laws and discipline. He glared furiously at Fang Chen. It was all this brat's fault. If not for him, none of these troubles would have come to pass. Gritting his teeth, he announced, "All members of the various sects, immediately take stock of all items of pure yang and righteous aura you carry, and prepare for battle." The hearts of the crowd grew heavy. They would finally have to face the undead corpse army head on. They had no reinforcements behind them, and were severely short on manpower. The outcome of this battle, life or death, was impossible to predict. They immediately began to count all usable items on their persons. The elders fared well. Most of them had considerable wealth, so they more or less carried items such as fire talismans on them. The disciples, however, wore troubled expressions. Very few of them possessed fire talismans. Lei Zhenhai said, "If you do not have fire talismans, use fire to attack the enemy," but this still left the disciples looking hesitant and troubled. This was a vast 10,000 lie snow plain after all. There was nothing but ice and snow as far as the eye could see, not even a single blade of grass. If they wanted to attack with fire, what would they use as fuel? Would they have to burn their own clothes? Before the battle even began, they had run into a huge problem. Though some elders generously gave away their own fire talismans to the disciples of their sects, it was but a drop in the bucket. Each disciple only got 2 or 3 fire talismans, which was nowhere near enough to sustain the fight. And how many attacks from the undead corpse army could they withstand in close combat? Lei Zhenhai's brows were furrowed tightly. The war had come too abruptly, and their shortage of combat supplies was nothing short of fatal. "Sect Master Lei, I think we should retreat." The third elder of the giant sect said with a solemn face, "The disciples of the giant sect do not possess spiritual power at all, so they cannot use fire talismans. If we want to use fire attacks, we do not even have anything to burn. Are we supposed to fight empty-handed?" Ming Yulian also spoke up. "Sect Master Lei, it is not that we are unwilling to fight. It is simply that neither the timing nor the terrain is on our side. If we retreat now, I believe the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion will take our circumstances into consideration when judging our actions."
10,000 rotting corpses approaching, a 9-headed giant python roaring. Zen Master Lei, are you still calculating your pathetic merits?
When my 5 thunder righteous Heaven Palm tears through the night sky, you'll finally understand who the true master of this frozen wasteland is!
Want to see how I seize the divine jade bone necklace? Like and subscribe. Next episode, watch me take on the demon priestess alone.